to Wrigley Field and welcome to Game 1 of the National League Championship Series on FS1. How about this matchup for you? The Los Angeles Dodgers, winners of the West, taking on the Chicago Cubs, the team that had the best record in baseball. And now welcome inside the broadcast booth, everybody. I'm Joe Buck. The Hall of Famer John Smoltz is coming right up. Well, the Cubs were supposed to be here, right? I mean, last year, yeah, they made the NLCS, but they were swept by the New York Mets. They spent a lot of money in the offseason to add some veteran grit to a lot of the good young core they already had here. What happened? The plan worked. They ended up with the best record in the major leagues, and they are in a great spot here starting this NLCS. Now, on the other side, Dr. Smoltz, let's talk about the Los Angeles Dodgers. How did they get to this spot in this NLCS?
It's amazing. 8 games back, they lose their star in Clayton Kershaw. Nobody thought they could catch the Giants. They did that, and they used their roster better than most. 31 pitchers, over 15 starters, and you think about the Dodgers and Dave Roberts in his first year of managing, he had to push more buttons for his team to even get to this point, so they utilized their roster about as good as you can.
Yeah, and for these two managers who have, I think, managed brilliantly so far this postseason, it's a different formula. I mean, for the Cubs, we're talking about starting pitching, and we'll be doing that all series, and for the Dodgers, it's a lot of work out of that bullpen.
Well, it is. This is a team that led all of baseball in innings pitch out of its bullpen. So Dave Roberts knows when he starts with a starter, it's not going to end with one. He's going to have to use about 4 or 5 guys. But for Joe Maddon, the formula is pretty simple. 4 dynamic, really 5 starters, but he's going to John Lester, and John Lester has been so good for the Chicago Cubs. He's dominated the second half. He could win a Cy Young. He's been unbeatable basically at home. 10-1 in the second half, and the only loss was his last start, a tune-up for John Lester. That rally by the Cubs allowed him to start Game 1 instead of a Game 5. And the only hiccups that he has is when runners get on base, they have a tendency that they could take the extra base. For John Lester at home, this crowd looks good for him.
Well, Kenta Maeda gets the ball for the Los Angeles Dodgers. We have to wait only until Game 2 to see the great Clayton Kershaw. Let's go. It's the second city against Tinseltown, the NLCS.
coming home again.
Did you know it's almost 70 degrees in Chicago on October 14, 2016? 68 and the wind is blowing out. The Cubs have made a roster move heading into this NLCS. For that and more, down to Ken Rosenthal we go.
Well, Joe, the Dodgers have struggled against lefties all year, batting .214 against them in the regular season, .160 in the division series. So the Cubs, trying to exploit that vulnerability, have added a fourth left-handed reliever for this series. His name, Rob Zastryzny. Rob Z, as he is known, had a big outing at Dodger Stadium on August 27th. He joins from the left side of that Cubs bullpen Travis Wood, Mike Montgomery, and of course, Aroldis Chapman. Now over to Tom Verducci.
Well, that's right, Kenny. No secret about the Dodgers' troubles against lefties, worse than all of baseball. So you look for your big right-handed bats to pick up the slack. That begins with Justin Turner. Here's the problem. Turner has struggled against lefties. He has struggled against John Lester. No hits in 11 at-bats. He has struggled against all the Chicago left-handers. 3 hits in 32 at-bats. To make history, the Dodgers are going to have to defy history. Joe?
Tom, thanks. Thanks to Ken as well. And away we go. John Lester, here's a lineup for the Dodgers as Dave Roberts thought about it long and hard. It's a different look. It's Howie Kendrick leading off in left. Then Justin Turner batting second. Corey Seager hits third. Yasiel Puig is in right. Adrian Gonzalez at first. Carlos Ruiz does the catching, the longtime Philly. Kike Hernandez at second. He's added for this LCS. Jock Peterson at center. And Kenta Maeda pitches and bats ninth. What's the defense look like behind John Lester? Well, it's been a good defense in this postseason, and everybody's been talking about the second baseman, Javier Baez. But out in the outfield, it's Ben Zobrist in left, Dexter Fowler in center, and Jason Hayward in right. And then the typical infield look. Bryant, Russell, Baez, who's been a magician, and Rizzo, with David Ross, the 39-year-old catcher, catching John Lester. What do you expect out of Mr. Lester tonight, John Smoltz?
Well, you could talk all night about how great he has been, and as he gets up there in age, he's had some of his best career numbers. Fastball, cutter, curveball, occasional change. With the wind blowing out, look for him to try and jam right-handers and pitch left-handers away.
Well, let's see if he can jam Howie Kendrick. Glad you're with us on FS1. Strike one. Again, it's Kendrick, Justin Turner, and Corey Seager for the Dodgers. Kendrick, the longtime Angel, now an outfielder with the Dodgers. And we may see a lot of this tonight, John, because John Lester does not like to throw the ball anywhere but from the pitching rubber to home plate. So they will test him and how good he is defensively.
Absolutely, you have to. And the defense for the Cubs, the corners know that. For Lester, he's hoping to get the leadoff runner out, of course, as every pitcher is, especially guys who can run.
That's foul. Give you the Lincoln Motor Company keys to the game.
Well, get them on and get them moving. I think for the Dodgers, they don't historically run a lot, but they're going to have to take and pick their spots. They have to create stress on the bases because John Lester has been not only great at home, but he's been great with runners in scoring positions. So you're not going to more than likely get 3 or 4 hits in a row off John Lester.
Ball one to Kendrick. So the Dodgers come into this series because they had to go the full 5 games, and all the work they get out of their bullpen in that series against Washington a little bit backward. And they have Maeda going tonight. They are pushing that man, Clayton Kershaw, to tomorrow night. With short rest. Coming off that save in game 5. Cubs in much better position as they made quick work of the Giants in 4. Didn't have to go to the 5th game. Didn't have to burn Lester on Thursday. And Ross goes out to talk. This was before the game. Is this a good sign or a bad sign, John?
I think it's just a rally, right? They're all in it together, trying to do their best. Of course, we got instant replay. But each one of those guys obviously added to a normal crew. Newer behind the plate.
Kendrick stays up there, and the count stays 1-2.
Kendrick struggles against left-handed cutters on the year, and of course John Lester has really developed. He used to be fastball in, cutter in, everything firm, and now he's got command on both sides of the plate. That's why he's having a fantastic year. He has done pretty well with Paul behind the plate as the umpire.
1-2 is outside. 2-2, and Kendrick's putting together a good at bat. This is the 15th career postseason start for the 32-year-old left-hander John Lester in his second year in Chicago. 2-2. Bryant came in, stops, throws, got one away.
Besides strikeouts, if John's on his game against the right-handers, that's what you should see. Bryant getting a lot of jammed right-handed hitters, because Lester can cut that ball in, and occasionally he'll throw that changeup if he thinks you're cheating in. As we mentioned, and as Tom Verducci said, this guy right here has gotten hot for the Dodgers, but he has yet to have success off of Lester.
He's got 10 straight games during postseason play, reaching base 2 times or more. And he is trying to get something going here with 1 out, and Corey Seager, the rookie shortstop, on deck. That won't do the trick. Russell. 2 up, 2 down, and 2 ground balls to the left side off Lester. And Seager bats with the bases empty. For coverage of this game in Spanish, please tune to Fox Deportes. Today is the last day of National Hispanic Heritage Month, which started on September 15th. Here's Seager.
Well, here's your rookie of the year, and he'll get some MVP votes. You see that average. 3 of those hits have come in the first inning. You see the 2 homers that he has been able to deliver. This guy, the best hitter on the Dodgers, he's a rookie, even though he played a little bit last year.
Came up at the end of last year, was involved in the postseason in that series against the Mets, and here he is on with another first inning base hit. So that's 4 hits this postseason for Corey Seager, and all 4 have come in the first inning.
Well, the alarm clock definitely works, right? Start of the game. He likes the first pitch, as do most young hitters. And he picks on the first fastball he sees from Lester and takes it right up the middle.
A guy like Seager is one of those who just looks like he's been around longer than he has. The game doesn't seem too fast for him. He plays shortstop. You said early in the regular season, John, that you think he's an MVP type candidate. Forget about absolute rookie of the year. Here's Yasiel Puig. It's been a steady decline for Puig since bursting onto the big league scene with that huge month of June as he tanks low for ball 1. That came in 2013. Was a player of the month, had 44 hits, which was the second best first month in the big leagues hits wise, behind a guy named DiMaggio. He had a good season in 13, not as good in 14, not as good in 15. This year he was down in the minors, and he chops to the left side. Russell getting over, and Lester gives up the 2-out hit. Bottom of the first. Cubs batting at Wrigley. No score. Yes, on FS1. Tonight's telecast is presented by T-Mobile One. Glad you're with us tonight on FS1. Joe Madden. Typical lineup. Those numbers on the right, what they did in the NLDS. Fowler, Bryant, Rizzo, Zobrist, Russell, Hayward, Baez, Ross, Lester, the bottom three. Here's Kenta Maeda. Ball one outside. Maeda was not good in his divisional series start against the Nationals. Lost 8-3 last Monday in LA, went only 3 innings. But really started out the month of September red hot for the Dodgers. Won 16 games as Fowler takes a strike.
Yeah, that game in LA, Joe, started with an 0-2 mistake, and then they scored 4 runs off of him in 3 innings. Fastball command's going to be huge. He'll mix in a changeup split, but loves his slider with an occasional curveball.
That drills the inside corner, strike 2.
Fowler's not afraid to work the count. Leadoff hitter, when he goes, the Cubs go. He's not afraid to hit with 2 strikes. He can foul off a lot of pitchers' pitches with the best of them. Loves the sinker from the right-hander.
Maeda has him set up. That's into right center field. A base hit and a good start for Chicago.
It's interesting. I saw just watching the game that Maeda pitched. He got in trouble when he tried to elevate the ball up, and he never got the ball exactly where the catcher wanted. But in this case, he did. Probably going with the 4-seamer, and I think Fowler, again, not afraid to hit with 2 strikes. Set the tone for now. The MVP's coming up. Bryant and Rizzo.
Well, this was a Cubs team that hit only 200 in that divisional series win over the Giants, the 4-game series. Bryant was not part of the problem. Went 6 for 16. Hit a home run, drove in 3. Had a big game-tying 9th inning 2-run shot in game 3, the one that lasted 13 innings. The guy behind him struggled. That's Rizzo. Maeda trying to get around that leadoff hit. Fowler starts and stops on strike 1. In case you're wondering, Dexter stole 13 during the regular season. Joe Madden could have moved Bryant out of that number 2 spot. It's something he thought about coming into this series, but he said, I just don't want to mess with him. He's too hot right now. He's too settled in. Rookie of the year last year to possible MVP, and that's down, ball 1.
You know, in a perfect world, if you could have a regular season lineup that gives him the extra at-bats in the number 2 spot and then switch him to the number 3 spot in the postseason, that's a pitcher's nightmare. It lengthens the lineup, but as you just mentioned, Joe does not want to mess with the psyche of Bryant. He's doing well, and if Rizzo does his part, it's all a moot point. But I'd much rather face Bryant as a pitcher in a postseason in the 2nd spot than the 3rd spot, with Zobrist being in front of him, creating more traffic and tougher to pitch to that lineup.
Problem is, then there's no protection for Rizzo. Here's a 1-1. That's foul. Right now, the protection for Rizzo is Zobrist in the cleanup spot. Joe Madden said, well, for the switch hitter, other teams respect Ben more when he's batting left-handed, as he will be tonight against Maeda. Different story against left-handers, so we could see a different look as we go through this series. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Bryant. Leadoff hitter Dexter Fowler reached for the base hit into right center. Numbers that Bryant has put up. As you see what he did during the regular season, this is a kid, and he is still that. 65 home runs in 2 years in the big leagues. Great lift on the ball. He waits. He hits into left. Back is Kendrick. Will get it off the wall. Fowler around 3rd. He'll score, and Bryant has put the Cubs on top in the 1st.
Two strikes. He goes with the slider. The slider is much more enjoyable for Bryant than the curveball, and with 2 strikes, He has improved and cut down his strikeouts from last year. You see Kendrick trying his best to get back to the ball. Carries, and it hits off that wall. It's an easy run scored for Fowler.
As you watch Fowler, well, here's Bryant going to second. Fowler scoring easily from first base. Here's Dexter. There are left fielders who might have caught that ball. It wasn't a direct pass for Howie Kendrick, but the Dodgers wanted his right-handed bat in the lineup. They're just piecing a lineup together. Kendrick, his experience in the big leagues is more at second base. That is down to Anthony Rizzo.
Oh, this is where Rizzo has shined with runners in scoring position. You see his postseason career average, maybe presses a little bit, tries to do a little too much. But Joe Maddon was more confident in Game 4 on his takes. The takes allowed him to not expand the strike zone, which he felt the Giants were not pitching to him, and he expanded the strike zone, and that's why you see the low average.
Here's a 1-0. Good fastball from Maeda, 92.
You know, it's interesting here. The outfield wall is not padded at all. Don't be confused by that ivy. Going back and trying to get that fly ball, I'm sure Kendrick was aware of the bricks that are sitting underneath that almost dormant ivy at this time of the year, starting its way on that way.
Cubs have a first inning lead, have a chance for more. Runner at second, nobody out. 1-1 to Rizzo. Outside. Again, it would have been a tremendous catch by Kendrick if he got there and hauled that in.
The initial read, I don't think he thought the ball was going to carry that much.
I don't either, because Bryant basically hit it off balance. That's how strong Chris Bryant is.
Yeah, and you could tell when Bryant was running, he didn't think, based on the way he was running, that ball had the chance to get over the outfielder's head.
2-1 the count on Rizzo. Drove home 109 during the regular season. Strike 2.
Well, Rizzo, as he famously does now with 2 strikes, it's widely known now he'll choke up on the barrel, control the strike zone a little bit more with the bat, shorten it up, but he doesn't lose a lot of power when he does it. Most people think that goes to a 2-strike approach, but he will still hit home runs. 243 on the year with 2 strikes, which is pretty impressive because the league average is well below 200.
Rizzo flips one into left, and Kendrick is there for out number 1. So he did put bat on ball, and becomes the first out in the bottom of the first to bring up Ben Zobrist. See if Maeda can settle down and keep this 1-run inning. Zobrist was brought in as a free agent, obviously played for Joe Maddon in Tampa Bay with the Rays. 3 for 16 this postseason, but world champion with the Royals a year ago, and a guy who can play literally anywhere. Good contact hitter and change the feel in this lineup to make that a little more contagious, being more contact hitters throughout this starting 8. That's a strike.
Well, what this lineup will do is they will be very patient. They let all of baseball on walks. Now, last year they let all of baseball on strikeouts. Part of the problem why maybe they didn't go as far, they ran into incredible pitching for the Mets. But they've cut down on those strikeouts by the acquisition of guys like Rizzo, Hayward.
There's no 1 pitch. Zobrist. That's in the air to left, and Kendrick coming to grab it. Out number 2, and Bryant has to dive back in. Well, let's see if Maeda can get around that situation with a runner at second and nobody out and a run home. Standing in his way is Addison Russell, who was 1 for 15 in the division series against the Giants.
It's an incredible psyche for a pitcher. When you only go 3 innings in your first postseason start, you want to get the jitters out, and then the first 2 runners reach and a run's in. So to say that those 2 outs were nerve settlers, now with 2 outs, the one thing that Maeda has not been great on the year has been with runners in scoring position. The average is way too high for a starter's liking.
The young shortstop. Balance out in front of that pitch as Maeda took something off. Addison Russell, a .238 average, but hit 21 home runs. That's what he's done since the middle of September. It has not been good. More strikeouts than hits. Runner at second, 2 out, 1-0 Chicago, and that's off the end of the bat. Good job by Maeda to limit the damage. Dexter Fowler got on. Chris Bryant brought him home, and after 1 behind John Lester, the home team, the Cubs, lead 1-0. At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. It's the only place to get it all. Live radio feeds, video highlights, pitch tracking, StatCast, and much more. Download At Bat today. 1-0 Chicago. And that was the final in Game 1 of the division series when Lester hooked up with Johnny Cueto. Home run by Baez in the 8th, and that was it. Here's Adrian Gonzalez. The Dodgers are a gritty team. What does that mean? I don't know. But announcers seem to say that a lot. But they come in with a lot of confidence after knocking out a very good Nationals team and doing it with seemingly their whole roster a base hit into right. Second hit for the Dodgers, and Adrian Gonzalez, who loves hitting at Wrigley Field, is on to start the second.
Yeah, you can see how comfortable he is. I think he's got one of the prettiest left-handed swings, and if John Lester's going to give up a leadoff hit, this is the guy you want on the bases. I don't think he's a threat to steal, but for Adrian Gonzalez, he has his moments of power, but the way that he gets through the zone, can hit to all parts of the field, at least he used to, leads off with a hit.
See that career slugging percentage here at Wrigley Field, a ballpark that dates back to 1914. Gonzalez, that slugging percentage, the 4th best among active players. Sights, the sounds, shots that we can get you from Wrigley Field are breathtaking. That's outside for ball 1 to Carlos Ruiz.
John Lester's done a much better job from last year. 44 stolen bases out of 55 attempts. This year he's cut it down to 28. He's really quick to the plate. Of course, David Ross does his part when throwing out runners.
Ruiz, who had a home run in the division series, fouls it back. The count evens at 1.
But the most amazing part to me, he rarely, if ever, throws over the first.
Well, I know it's like in golf, right? I mean, you don't like to use the Y word, yips.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got that. He doesn't want to throw to first. He doesn't field his position well. He doesn't throw to bases well. It's a factor as he misses high to Carlos Ruiz, and it's something that the manager of the Dodgers, Dave Roberts, said we've got to take advantage of that. The Dodgers have to make him uncomfortable, however they're going to do it, on the mound here tonight.
Exactly. And it got exposed in that wild card game while he was with the Oakland Athletics.
Time call.
And that's what you have to do. So John is going to be as patient as he can, sometimes hold it a little longer than most, and then he has to get rid of it really quickly. You see the total bases in the last 2 seasons. And that wild card game really exposed it, because up until that point you never really heard much about it. And then that became the issue, and it became a throwing issue when the balls were back to him. And so this has become something that Joe Maddon has definitely said, I want you to do one thing, get the hitter out and create less stress of thinking about that runner over there. And it showed this year. The numbers have been cut down.
Count's gone to 3-1 after the leadoff base hit by Adrian Gonzalez. Kike Hernandez in the on-deck circle. Ruiz should get something to drive here. And he fouls it full count.
Here, George Lombard over there at first base saying more, get a bigger lead.
It's unnerving to base runners when guys don't throw over.
Right. I mean, I would be so tempted right here, 3-2. I would send him. And he's not fleet-footed by any means, and neither is Ruiz.
Not going. Ruiz hammers it to Bryant. 1 out. And a bad break for the Dodgers as Carlos Ruiz hit it right on the nose.
And my point is, even if it doesn't work, you're putting the message out. You're going to make him work, and you're going to make him think about it. Now, this would have been a double play if my theory would have been going. But I think much like what the Giants did, you've got to be able. You're not going to string more than likely 4 hits, 3 hits. At least that's the way the year's gone for Lester. So do whatever you can.
Well, here's Kike Hernandez, who was added to the roster for this round of the playoffs, was not available to Dave Roberts in the division series. He hit 190 during the regular season. Did take John Lester deep this season. And now it's Adrian Gonzalez who bothered John Lester, who steps off. Ken Rosenthal, what do you have down there?
Well, he spent some time in Arizona working on his swing during the division series. Returned home for game 5 and watched the game on TV. Now, he said he upset his dog, also named Arizona, by yelling and screaming at the TV. The dog was freaking out. Then yesterday, after the win, he woke up at 3:30 a.m., got here to Chicago with a connection in Minnesota, and here he is.
Talking about Kike Hernandez, who's up with 1 on 1 out here in the second, and that's a breaking ball in for a strike. Good pitch from Lester. Just to make one more comment before we beat this completely into the ground, but base runners, I remember Lou Brock always talking about this. Here's an 0-1. That is over but low, ball 1. When a guy doesn't throw over, it's like waiting at a traffic light, and you know it's going to turn green because you can see the other light on the other side, but there's that little bit of hesitation, like I'm not totally sure it's going to be green. That's the case with Lester. He doesn't ever show them his move over to first, so guys are never really totally comfortable. But he won't throw over. If he does, it'll be rare.
So you got 2 things going. As a base runner, if you get a big enough lead, the first sign of movement, you got to go. If you get a huge lead and you don't do that, you got to be prepared for David Ross back picking, which he's so good at. So you've got to make up your mind that I'm going, once I get out there in the uncomfortable lead mode and I see him move, I'm going. And if I get picked off, well, he'll talk about it. He finally threw to first.
Check swing.
I've talked to other managers, and they've told their players, listen, if you get picked off, that's on me. But if you don't get a big enough lead and go, then we're wasting our time trying to create, we're not taking advantage of what he's given us.
Lester combats all that by being quick to the plate. And as you said, David Ross, that back pick throwing behind the runner to first base when the lead gets too big. 2-2. Good block by Ross. Full count.
David Ross takes more pleasure with his relationship with John Lester. He only really plays once every 5 days, so when he plays, he feels it's must-win day. And he's doing everything he can to work his pitcher through the ball game to give the team and himself the best chance for success.
Full count. We'll see if Gonzalez goes from first. Stays put. Ball 4, 2 on, 1 out. And I'm hearing the same thing you are with George Lombard, the first base coach, pleading with Adrian Gonzalez to get a bigger lead. Now it's 2 on, 1 out, and the batter's Jock Peterson.
Jock Peterson, everybody knows about his power, but he has really struggled. This is the power that got him going off of Max Scherzer the other way.
That was in the 7th inning, game 5, and that tied the game at 1. And they were just getting started in that game. 7th inning, top half, and Peterson tied it.
Yeah, he really has to control the count. What I mean is it's got to be in his favor. He has to be hitting with the advantage in the count. If he's behind in the count, he virtually rarely gets any hits at 104. So he's got to pick one out that he likes, and he'll be on attack mode.
Showing punt, pulling back from ball 1. Seem to be putting a little bit more in the mind of John Lester than the Giants had at least the opportunity to do in that game 1 of the division series.
Yeah, because he's not going to bunt there. The pitcher's behind him. He's just trying to make it or put as many thoughts as he can in John Lester's head.
1 out, okay? 1 out.
1 ball, 1 strike. Lead runner is Adrian Gonzalez, does not run well. The trail runner is Kike Hernandez. He does. Jock Peterson is trying to give his Dodgers a jolt here in the 2nd. 25 home runs during the regular season, drove home 68. Inside, 2-1. Lester, a 2nd-round pick by the Boston Red Sox back in 2002. Came up in 06 and then was diagnosed with lymphoma in late August. Came back, and by the end of 07, won the clinching game of the World Series. That's strike 2. He is a tough young man, 32 years old, and a grizzled postseason vet.
You've been through all those kind of moments. You're not shaken by anything, really. It's a perfect resume for a guy who's had the success in the postseason and now hoping to have the success with the Cubs.
This game just creeping along as Lester's taking a long time. Hitters stepping out. Two on, 1 out. there's a lot of familiarity. You talked about the relationship between the catcher David Ross and the guy on the mound. Lester is 48-23 and 4-3 in the postseason when working with David Ross. So trying to figure out a way to get Jock Peterson. They figured it out. 2 down.
Well, just too big of a swing. Peterson has all kind of power. But right there, that power of Lester. Put it right back in the heart of the zone. You know, with Peterson, they actually got him to take Pepper to utilize the strike zone and give him more awareness of the bat and the command of what you got to have in this. And he's gotten better, but left-handers still give him an awful time.
They have to have you explain Pepper.
Yeah, do it right here.
2 on, 2 out. Adrian Gonzalez is a mile off second base. And Lester looks at him and smiles. With the pitcher, Maeda, at the plate.
Well, Pepper, basically, you got 4 guys that you're about 10 feet away, and they each throw you the ball, and you have to control the bat to hit it to each guy. And that gives you bat control. And when it first started out for Peterson, he was hitting rockets.
Maeda with a chance. Left side, base hit. Here comes Gonzalez. We'll have a play at the plate. Throw home. In time. Inning over. Maeda delivers the hit. Zobrist delivers a one-hop strike. And with a tag by Ross, the Cubs still lead by 1. Gonzalez in the tag by David Ross, and it wasn't close.
Yeah, but the secondary lead, he starts going back when the ball's hit. That little movement right there could very well cost Gonzalez. When you have a huge lead, you're worried about the batter swinging through and maybe the back pick. At that point with the pitcher, you see right here a better example. Watch him go back. That's all it takes. 2 outs. When the batter swings, you got to be prepared as a base runner to get the biggest lead and the biggest jump. We talked about Gonzalez doesn't have a lot of speed, and he's all the advantage he can get with a runner on second when he's at second with 2 outs.
It'll be Jason Hayward to lead it off for the Cubs in the bottom of the second, then Baez, then Ross. Against Kenta Maeda, who delivered the hit with 2 out in the top of this inning. Breaking ball is down, and ironically, that ball found its way between Bryant and Addison Russell. Had either one been able to knock it down and keep it on the infield, the Dodgers have bases loaded, 2 out, and Kendrick coming up. But it found its way through. The third base coach, Chris Woodward, sent Adrian Gonzalez to the plate, and Ben Zobrist says, "Thank you very much." I'll get on the highlight reel with a throw to the plate to end the inning. 2-0 the count on Hayward. That's a strike. Looks like Maeda's got pretty good life to that fastball here tonight.
Well, he had good life early on in his last start against the Nationals, and then the 2-strike hits started coming.
Hayward had a disappointing season any way you look at it. Now the count 2-2. Signed a big deal to come to Chicago after spending the year before in St. Louis and hit just .230 with 7 home runs, 49 RBIs.
This is an off-season project, and I'm sure he knows it, but right now he can make that season disappear if at any point during the series he comes up with big hits for the Cubs. The season is not what he wanted by any means.
Leading off the second for Chicago, and that's going to keep it 2-2.
You know, with Maeda, when he came over here, Dave Roberts, Rick Honeycutt trying to convince him his fastball needs to be used. You can only convince a pitcher if he has confidence in it. He likes spinning the ball. He likes his off speed. That's what he'll throw more times than not. But as you mentioned, Joe, his fastball is still good enough in the big leagues. Pitching in and out, however, is not one of his strengths.
2-2 pitch. Hayward hits a rocket into the right field corner. He'll have at least 2. He'll think about 3. He'll go. He'll make it. Leadoff triple.
Well, here's the 2-seamer that he's trying to get in. See how much more of the plate it covers? That's the one area that Hayward can handle. Up, down, in, not so much. He can also run. Everyone knows about his speed and defense. In a series that has Hill and Kershaw, don't know how many opportunities he'll have. This has got to feel good.
And now the Dodgers are going to bring their infield in with the number 7 hitter Javier Baez coming up. Leadoff triple, and the guy who would have won the Division Series MVP award if there was one handed out is digging in for Chicago. He's become a fan favorite. Infield is in. Ball 1 upstairs to Baez.
Yeah, that may be nothing to most people, but that take right there 2 years ago, no chance. He has made so many progressions in his short time as a big leaguer. Of course, they're trying to cut down the big leg kick, but he's cutting down on his strikeouts. And that was a huge hit off of Strickland, as you see, to go ahead for the Cubs.
Maeda now onto the windup, and with a squeeze on, Baez fouls it back to the screen. And pulling out squeeze play here in the second.
Well, the mechanics of this, he just jabs at it right there. No need to jab, just square around. At this point, you can put it in any position. Nobody's crowding the plate. You see him jab right there. That's not going to get it done.
That was more in the category of a safety squeeze than Hayward busting it down the line. Either way, it's a foul. The count 1 ball, 1 strike. Strike 2 on Baez. One reason, John, why Joe Maddon didn't move Baez up higher in the lineup. He said that leg kick might get a little bigger if he was batting in the number 5 spot for us. And he missed that by 20.
Yeah, and that's where you got to go. You would stay right there if you're Maeda, and you could throw a curveball, slider anywhere off the plate. It's going to be difficult for Baez.
Now a 1 ball, 2 strike count. Off the end of the bat, shallow center, long run. Hernandez will not get there. 2-0. Cubs lead into second. Baez hustling with an RBI double.
Again, contact. And he knows as soon as he hits this, he's going to turn on the burners. Already once he didn't come out of the box firing, and it cost him in a slide at second base. But this time, once he knows that's going to get over there in the infield, and he says, I got a chance. He does like sliding head first. And you see, baseball IQ for this young man is pretty high.
So it goes down as an off the end of the bat RBI double. Just to put a number to what you've talked about, John, you're in the Hall of Fame because you knew how to put guys away with 2 strikes. In this postseason, against Kenta Maeda, hitters are 7 for 13 with 2 strikes.
Yeah, that's just, that one's a little tough break, but Maeda really trying to get in some kind of zone. The goal is to get to 2 strikes. He's done that.
In this postseason for the Cubs, 9 leadoff hitters in an inning have reached. 6 of those 9 have scored, and that includes the first and second innings of tonight. Here's Ross. Runner at second, still nobody out. Center field and barely having to move is John Peterson. Tagging Baez, stays put. 1 out. Maeda will try to do what he did in the first inning. Runner at second, nobody out, a run home, and try and keep it a 1-run frame.
John Lester, perfect scenario for a pitcher. Got nothing to lose here. Runner on second. You get to swing. Runner been on first. You're going to bunt. He's gotten better. He's been taking some pride. The staff is filled with some decent hitters. Hamill and, of course, Arrieta. Arrieta should win, I would think, the Silver Slugger for pitchers.
Between he and Bumgarner. Those two hooked up in Game 3 of the division series. Meanwhile, Lester, you saw the average 6 for 59. Swing in the bat. Got a little leg kick, and he takes outside, ball 1. He's no give up, that's for sure, at the plate. And the pitchers in the division series for the Cubs hit .333 and drove home 6 of the 17 in the RBI column for Chicago against the Giants. The 2 home runs. Good swing by Lester. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Yeah, he's joking with him. He said, my swing's better. It's just the contact's not where I'd like it to be.
They've been playing baseball on this site since 1914. Wrigley Field is buzzing here tonight. 2-0 Chicago. Lester trying to add to it. That gets away, and going to third is Baez.
Well, now the Dodgers are going to have to bring in the corner infielders because the safety squeeze, which has been tried and used and successful by Joe Maddon. Now you got that element where you don't know if the pitcher's going to do it. And as a base runner, you're just reading the play. Unless it's a suicide squeeze, the pitcher knows he gets a pitch. You see Ruiz here on the breaking ball. I don't know if it hit the front of the plate, the back, and the backhand just couldn't corral the ball.
The infield now weigh in. There was a short meeting on the mound. And the other bonus for the Cubs is the count is in the favor of John Lester at 2-1.
Key for Baez is going to have to get a good walking lead.
That is Baez coming to the plate. He is safe. 3-0. Madden wants to smile. Baez down the line too far and took off.
And it worked. You can tell he's looking at his manager already. He got aggressive and then said, well, I'm done. And the only way I can make something happen is to not stop whatsoever. That aggression, got a little lucky, and a run for the Cubs.
It's a steal of home for Javier Baez, who's doing everything right. Even the mistakes work out. And it's 3-0 Chicago. 3-1 to Lester is on the outside corner, full count. The last steal for the Cubs of home in the postseason. That's a walk to Lester. It was 1907 in Game 4. Meanwhile, obviously, it was all World Series in the postseason back then. Their last championship coming in 1908. There, I've said it. I got it out there, and I'm sure we'll be wearing you out with that as this series goes on. But Baez said, why not?
You know, so much is talked about Yasiel Puig and some of the things that he has done and not done for the Dodgers, partly due to his demotion. This kid plays aggressive, but it's calculated. And sometimes you'll have a scenario like that, but it's not all the time.
Here's Fowler getting one off the end of the bat. That'll stay in play for Turner at third. 2 out. I also think Baez has been honest with himself. A former first-round pick. He's still a young man, but he's seen other prospects now shoot past him in this organization. The strikeouts 2 years ago, less of a taste of the big leagues last year. He worked hard on becoming a more controlled hitter, and consequently has had more at-bats. He's taken over at second, and they've reaped the benefits of his great hands defensively. 1 on, 2 out. Bryant, ball 1.
And just the fact that he can play multiple positions gives him the luxury of, yeah, you as a big leaguer, you want to hold one position down. You want to be an everyday player. You want to hit 40 home runs. You want to do all those things. But to your point, he's realized I've got to make changes, and those changes are slowly coming. And now you can consider him an everyday player, because at some point in every game he's going to play a position for Joe Madden.
This should end the inning. On the infield, it's Kike Hernandez, but it's a 2-run frame. As the Cubs add to their lead, it started with a bullet into right and a triple for Jason Hayward. And one off the end of the bat by Baez, who would steal home, make it 3-0 Chicago after 2. Top of the order for the Dodgers. Third inning, 3-0 Chicago on top. John Lester back to work. Kendrick shows bunt, takes a strike. We are pleased to be joined by Jake Arrieta down in the Cubs dugout. Jake gets a chance to watch this with the rest of us. He's got the ball in game 3 at this point. Coming up in Los Angeles in a few days. Here's Kendrick popping one up right side and
come on,
out of play. Let's talk about your second baseman there, Jake. Even the mistakes are working out. This guy is electric right now.
I mean, guys, you can't make it up. It's almost like you just let him go out there and play the game, you know, at his speed, and you know, you live with the physical mistakes. This guy's, his instincts are, you know, second to none, and it's just fun to watch him grow and continue to develop and produce for us.
0-2 the count on Kendrick, who grounded out his first time. Lester deals it. Ball one outside. It's also been fun to watch you grow. It's really remarkable. I know you're worn out by the talk of it, but as you prepare for this start coming up in game 3, comes a 1-2 pitch. Before I deliver the hard-hitting question, Kendrick fights it off. Your growth has been nothing short of miraculous. How do you feel at this point this season? I know you had the big year last year, reigning Cy Young, but how do you feel right now?
Well, physically I feel great. I think one thing that I've been lacking almost all season is my cutter, and that's something that I was able to. Let's get there. All right, we got a guy there.
His name is Fowler, 1 out.
So as I was saying, you know, I haven't had a consistent you know, feel for that pitch for most of the season, but it's something I've continued to work on and try and harness and find in my side sessions, and now I have you know, the opportunity and the ability to use it you know, whenever I need to. So it's something that's taken a while for me to get that comfort back, but I feel like it's in a good spot now, and I like really everything else that I feature. I feel like it's locked in pretty good, but really I just think continuing to try and learn, and especially from a guy like this and Lester and Lackey, has really helped me continue to get better.
On that note, because you went and you were having a historic year last year and you were pushed to the tilt, what did you do in the offseason, and what have you learned in the regular season as you guys had a huge lead and you could not have to be going after it as much? Have you made any adjustments year to year?
Well, you know, I took a little bit more time off this offseason, and
here's one into right center field. There's Fowler. He's got it. 2 down.
I'll tell you what, boys, it's fun having a guy like that out there. Ooh.
And it brings up a bigger point for you, for John, for whoever's on the mound. What a luxury to work in front of this defense.
Well, and you know, in a small park like this, the wind's blown in for a significant amount of the season, and really being able to you know, attack the hitters, force the issue, and allow these guys to put the ball in play and let the guys work behind us. Like you said, our guys out there, the 8 behind us, are pretty incredible.
So 2 out, nobody on. The batter, Seager. Corey Seager singled his first time with 2 out in the first and takes a strike.
Seriously, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. I don't know how many hole-in-ones you've had in golf, but a 3-run homer off a Bumgarner, can you describe it?
Well, I'll take that over hole-in-one any day. I mean, honestly, everyone knows you know, how good he is, especially in the postseason, and I knew he was getting you know, fastballs by me up in the strike zone. I had a good idea that he was going to try that again. Try to take a nice easy swing and just find the barrel, whether it was a hole on the right side or, you know, a line drive to the outfield. I was able to do that. I mean, that was a surreal feeling, really. Hearing the entire stadium pretty silent, other than our dugout, was pretty awesome.
1-2 the count on Corey Seager. This crowd comes alive. Lester has struck out 1. Last question. John Tudor once said, what does it take in the postseason for somebody to get a press pass? A driver's license? You got everybody down there asking you questions, Jake Arrieta, about history in 1908, 1945.
That's right.
Blah, blah, blah. I know that part wears you out, but I don't get the sense you guys feel the urgency that the rest of the world, or especially Cub fans, feel. You're just doing your thing.
We're enjoying it, boys. We really are.
Here's one.
We're having a great time, man. We're having a great time and not worried about the pressure.
Jake Arrieta is going to get a game 3. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Bart.
All right,
Appreciate it,
bottom
guys.
of the 3rd inning rolls in. Cubs coming up. They lead 3-0. Anthony Rizzo first up. Zobrist and Addison Russell will follow against Kenta Maeda. Gave up 1, then 2. Strike 1 on Rizzo, who flied out his first time 1 for 16 this postseason. He is a guy who has seen the highs and the lows. Traded to the Cubs from San Diego and suffered through a 101 loss year in 2012. Now part of a 103 win team in 2016. Here's the 0-1.
Well, for Anthony Rizzo, he is their team leader. Obviously one of the veterans on the team, been here a long time. But he really became the team leader when he decided to challenge the entire Cincinnati Reds from the first base side, and now new teammate Aroldis Chapman. This is a moment here where the Cubs were not where they are now. He did not like this whatsoever. The two are fine now as teammates. He said, bring it on, every single one of you, let's go. That's when he changed, and the Cubs started to change as their fearless leader was ready to take them all on.
There's a 1-2. Rizzo tied up, struck him out, and that's the first strikeout of the night for Maeda. It's like, who's coming with me? Turned around and nobody was there. Tonight's telecast is sponsored by T-Mobile One. Welcome to Unlimited Baseball. And by the Lincoln Motor Company. One out for Ben Zobrist. Plays Zobrist a pull on the infield. Maeda misses, makes the outside corner, and Zobrist Shoots a little look back at the home plate umpire and says, really? Strike one.
Zobrist has a unique little motor and those little hands that keep going right there, and they just wiggle back and forth. It's not prototypical of what he would teach, but it works for him. Asked Joe Maddon about it. He said, yeah, you wouldn't teach a hitter to do that, too much movement. But from the left side, Zobrist has his power and certainly the command of the strike zone. Nobody knows it better than Joe Maddon.
In this day and age, with as bad as starting pitching is, it's not the case for the Chicago Cubs. But having somebody like Zobrist and now Baez, Caesar as well on this Cubs roster when he's active. He's not active. Matt is not on the active roster for this or the last series. What a luxury for Joe Maddon to be able to move guys around. You can carry extra pitchers. You can do so much with these two guys because they can literally do the have glove will travel route. And Maddon certainly knows how to squeeze the most out of a roster, as Dave Roberts has done. And this is first year with the Dodgers as well. The 1-out walk.
Well, I go all the way back to the Rays, and everybody said, okay, that's great. Joe Maddon, a lot of tricks, a lot of sayings, a lot of this. Let's see him do it in the big market. Well, that's exactly what he's done, and he puts his players in positions to not be surprised for moments like this. In other words, multiple positions, he'll play them in the field. He's got a lot of different lineups that he'll put out there. He wants his players prepared. It is not a tinker, look at me scenario. Everything's calculated, and a guy like Zobrist, who he knows real well, he can count on, to your point.
You can add Chris Bryant to that list too, because he can play the outfield. Here's Addison Russell as the Cubs hope he can get it going. Strike one. Addison grounded back to Maeda back in the first inning. Now he's 1 for 16 this postseason.
One of the sayings, embrace the target, started early for Joe Maddon and the Cubs. One of many sayings. And he has a lot of themes that he'll have his team partake in. One of those is go and show. In other words, show up as late as you can. No BP. Calls it American Legion ball. You get here, be ready to play because the season is long. So to say they're a loose bunch would be an understatement. They're having fun.
That's to third. Turner got one. Can't get. Oh, got him at first, and right away, the first base coach Brandon Hyde says, challenge that. We certainly look safe from up here. I think he looks safe for Brandon Hyde, and he is safe. This will be challenged, and this will be overturned.
Well, in the previous series against the Giants, there were a couple challenges that took a little too long. And I would say that after that, they went a lot quicker. This one will go a lot quicker.
Crowd knows it. They show it on the board. Dodgers know it. They're going back out into the field. It's the Dodgers and Cubs tomorrow on the air at 7 Eastern on FS1 Game 2. And that matchup of Kyle Hendricks against Clayton Kershaw. Then the Indians and Blue Jays after their travel day. There's the reversal. And that's Monday, Game 3. Off to Canada they go. Indians and Blue Jays with Cleveland up 2-0. Talk about droughts. It's been since 1948 that the Cleveland Indians have won it all. And in their first ALCS since the 2007 season, they've beaten a really good hitting club. 2-0 and 2-1 in the first 2 games of this series.
Yeah, I always say be careful of the team with the biggest chip on their shoulder. And I think the Cleveland Indians got a huge chip when everyone thought, oh, your staff's been beaten and battered and hurt. You got no chance. All they've done is won every game.
Hayward tripled leading off the second, scored on a off the bench blooper off the back of Baez. Good play here by Kike Hernandez. Now the inning is over. We played 3 in Game 1 at Wrigley Field, and the Chicago Cubs lead the Dodgers 3-0. Chicago. The Art Institute of Chicago carved into somebody's due. 3-0 Cubs on top. 4th inning rolls in. They fly that W flag. Not that specific one at the end of games here at Wrigley Field when they end up on top. They lead 3-0. Time for the Dodgers to get to work. Middle part of the order. The count goes to 2-0. Puig, Adrian Gonzalez, and Carlos Ruiz for LA.
Well, the Dodgers have had some great swings off of Lester. He hasn't been as sharp as he was last start. Of course, he gave up no runs in a gem 1-0 victory against the Giants. But he has 3 runs to work with.
Puig fouls it back 2-1.
The Cubs, for the most part during the year, look, their defense is so good. I don't care if you shift or not shift. They're athletic. So the batting average ball in play per pitcher on this staff is going to go down. But what they also were able to do is pitch with a lot of runs because they provided them with a lot of runs.
It's outside. 3-1. This Cubs team scored the 3rd most runs in baseball. 2nd in the National League of Colorado. 3-1 pitch. Puig grounds to Bryant. Gets the end of that big hop and gets the out. 1 away. Why don't we give you a season review of the Cubs? They get out of the gate great. They started the season 25-6. They had 22 wins in August. The most of any month since September of 1945, the year they last got to the World Series. There you go. The pitchers, what they've done. The opponent's batting average just .212 against. And the offense putting up a lot of runs, a lot of moving parts, and a run differential of plus +250. That means they scored more than they gave up. The best rate in baseball. That's a strike to Adrian Gonzalez.
And on the other side, as much as Joe Maddon had a lot to work with, Dave Roberts probably should win the Manager of the Year award. Because for the Dodgers and their payroll, they've had to use 15 starters. We mentioned that. They've had to use more pieces. Clayton Kershaw goes down. They're 8 games back of the Giants. No chance. And they're here competing and going to try to do their best to knock off the Cubs. He has done a fantastic job.
The job he did in Game 5 alone, that division series, he was ready. He was ready with Jansen, his closer, in the 7th inning. He was ready when Clayton Kershaw said, I'm available tonight. He brought him in with Murphy. I mean, he has had to create. He goes out to the mound more than any manager in the game, more than any ever has, making pitching changes this season for the Dodgers. 2 out.
And let me just put a couple things to bed for all you people out there that are fantastically excited about sabermetrics and analytics. There's a lot of value in that, but this system can't win year in and year out. What I mean, he's done a marvelous job this year, but you can't lead the league in innings pitched out of the bullpen and expect that team to carry that throughout the entire postseason. You have to have some starters develop innings, but they were able to do it in a 5-game series. We're going to see what happens in a 7-game series, but not signing Greinke and then utilizing a lot of starters to get you to this point. He's done a great job, but it's not the norm. What you mentioned in Game 5, you can't do that in a regular season game. So what he was able to do by using all his weapons, he's got the Dodgers fighting to compete to go to the World Series.
Carlos Ruiz took a strike, now a ball. 2 out, nobody on after Puig grounded out and Gonzalez struck out. Ruiz hit a liner to third and almost took the glove of Chris Bryant with it into left his first time, and now a line drive foul left side. 1-2 the count. And if a manager in baseball should ever have his own shoe deal to promote some sort of shoe, even floor shine, whatever it is, it's Dave Roberts, because he's walking out there to take the ball more than anybody.
And typically you saw all those teams' records, not one of them was over 500 except for Dave Roberts.
What a job. Should be, as John said, Manager of the Year. That's into left center. That's Fowler. That's caught. Flash and leather all October are the Cubs so far. broke his belt, but he made the grab. Somebody get Dexter Fowler a new belt. 3-0 after 3.5 at Wrigley. One for 10 against the Mets in the NLCS when the Cubs got swept as an RBI double stole home to score a run back in a 2-run second. Crowd chanting his name. Ball one is low in a 3-0 fourth inning game.
Well, the home run he hit in game one, wind was blowing way in. This ball would have been way out of the stadium. The power he displays, ball up in the zone. If Kenta Maeda makes a mistake with the ball, mask high, belt high, I don't think the park holds it.
There's a bullet into left, but right out Kendrick. I would say Javier Baez is locked in. StatCast powered by Amazon Web Services.
Well, just a great play. Fowler, you see the miles per hour and the distance covered and the route efficiency. As far as he's concerned, it's been an epic display of center field and a belt that he'll gladly get another one. John Lester, the benefactor of great defense, taking care of his teammate as his teammates take care of him.
Fowler's made a play to his left. Now that play to his right. With one out, nobody on, the number 8 hitter David Ross with Lester on deck. Maeda lasted 3 innings in that division starting against Washington. He's gone 3 1/3 so far, and if nothing else, after that battle with the Washington Nationals, Dave Roberts is hoping for a nice chunk of this game to be taken care of by Kenta Maeda.
There's no doubt that Dave Roberts will play a 7-game series much differently than a 5-game series.
Strike 2.
And the way he handles his bullpen and the leash he has with his starters, it's nice knowing you got Clayton Kershaw coming to pitch here at Wrigley Field. But for Dave Roberts, he has a wealth of information on his side, but at the same time, he has redefined the roles of his bullpen guys, and they all stepped it up when Clayton Kershaw went down.
14 games over 500 for those couple of months that Clayton Kershaw was out with a herniated disc in his back. I know Clayton Kershaw is going tomorrow, but he was involved in all 3 wins in the division series. He pitched his 2nd game on 3 days rest. Then he comes back with 1 day off and gets the save in game 5. And now here a couple of days later, he's going to get the ball in a start in game 2 of the NLCS. It's a lot, asking a lot of a guy who's got a bad back. Here's a 1-2.
Yeah, the wash for me is, yes, he doesn't have 200 innings on his body and arm, but you mentioned that injury and that 2 months off, so that's a wash. The adrenaline pump that you get in a game like that takes a day and a half to 24 to 36 hours to get out of your system, even though it was only 7 pitches. You can't explain the adrenaline of getting in a situation like that. Yes, he said it's like his bullpen, but not really. And so we'll see how he reacts early on in conserving as he attacks the Cubs lineup.
Here's a 2-2 now to Ross. Pops it up on the infield. Kike Hernandez. 2 out. Tonight's telecast is sponsored by Dell and by AT&T, mobilizing your world. Weather is ideal here in the middle of October in Chicago. This city has been alive and kicking all weekend long. 2 out, nobody on. It'll be the pitcher, John Lester, who walked his first time up at the plate. 5th, the Dodgers will have the bottom 3 in their lineup. One.
That rally did way more than just winning a game for the Cubs and their fans. We already mentioned it set up Lester to pitch this game. But the confidence now, that best-of-5 series, I don't want to say it's a flip of the coin, but the best team doesn't necessarily have the most advantage in a best-of-5 series. You lose a best-of-7, well, you could say the better team won. But a best-of-5, for them to get through that, and San Francisco, what more needs to be said about their pedigree of winning? But that win, not forcing a game 5, the anxiousness, the storylines that you mentioned, I just think they're a much more relaxed club, and they're having a lot more fun.
Luis Avalon, the left-hander, is getting ready with Maeda set to bat 3rd and the 5th. Here's a 2-1. 3-1 on Lester. This Cubs team that has 2 MVP candidates, 3 Cy Young Award candidates, 1 reigning Cy Young Award winner in Jake Arrieta, the number 3 starter for the Cubs, leading here tonight in game 1. Lester would like to excite this crowd with a count of 3-1. He takes a walk. Ruiz wants to know where that missed.
Yeah, especially to the pitcher. So he's having a little conversation. I ended it with a little smile. This pitch, I'm pretty sure, looks like it's going to split the plate. And it did.
Now they're going to check and make sure that Kenta is healthy. Rick Honeycutt jogs out there, and that's the translator with him. So this isn't an injury situation. They're just going to talk with Dexter Fowler coming up. That'll be a good one this Sunday. Tomorrow, Dallas Cowboys at the Green Bay Packers with Tom Brenneman, Troy Aikman, Aaron Andrews bringing you the call from Lambeau, and the legend of Dak Prescott that gets bigger and better every week, taking on Aaron Rodgers. And then it's us for game 2. Joe, John, Tom, and Kenny.
Don't really have to change. You don't even have to worry about the batteries in the remote. Just keep it right here.
Well, let's
well,
say
you have to change a little bit. You have to go
big
big
fobs.
fobs.
That's okay. You can do it. I know you can do it. And your Lions play the Rams.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Here's Fowler after the walk to Lester. 2 out. Strike one. Dexter has a hit, a run scored, and he's made 2 really good defensive plays. The last one, the best one, in right center. Rather, to his right and left center. Out in front of that pitch, strike 2. His first at bat with a brand new belt.
And that is the one pitch for Fowler that gives him issues. It's the slider down. He prefers the curveball over the slider.
Here are the 2 plays that Dexter has made in this game, backing up John Lester. This is the first one he made to his left. This was pretty good. The one he made in left center a moment ago was really good.
Well, with all kinds of defensive metrics out there, he was not happy with the report on him last year, and he took a look at it and said he was playing too shallow. He deepened it up, and it's paid off this year.
A strikeout ends the inning, and that for Maeda, his 2nd of the night. What have we seen tonight? The images from game 1 as we go to the 5th inning on a beautiful night in Chicago. Cubs lead it 3-0. Rhino is here. Ryan Sandberg, the great Cubs second baseman. Magic Johnson, part of the ownership group for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Bill Murray has been a fixture at Wrigley Field October of 2016. The same for John Cusack. John has been here. Eddie Vedder is here somewhere tucked away, shunning the spotlight. as Eddie Vedder can do so well. But rooting on his Cubs, leading 3-0, 5th inning. Kike Hernandez takes a ball. And now the next from John Lester. Foul. It almost took Angel Hernandez windbreaker off his body. He's the third base umpire. I don't even think we've said who the umpires are. That's Angel Hernandez. He's at third. They get mad at us when we don't say it. And rightly so. These guys deserve to be here after a long season. Home plate umpire Paul Nauert. 1-1 pitch. See the movement on that delivery by Lester. There's Angel Hernandez. Here comes a 2-1 line drive caught by Russell. How good is his defense so far for the Cubs? Now Addison Russell gets to it before it hits the dirt.
Well, like I said, they're getting good swings off of John Lester, but he's throwing enough strikes. He's letting his defense do the work. He's got a 3-0 lead. You'll take it, but if you ask him, it's probably not one of his best games, but he's taking advantage of what he has behind him.
Yeah. 1 out, nobody on for the number 8 hitter Jack Peterson, who struck out as Lester eventually came right after him and got a fastball by him back in the second. John Moore, our director. Pete Macheska in charge down in the truck, our producer. Aaron Stoikov, glad to have you with us on FS1. Strike one on Peterson. With 1 out, Peterson shows bunt. We haven't seen anybody attempt to drop one down yet. 1 ball, 1 strike.
And see, that's the pitch right there. It tells me he's not locked in. John Lester has tremendous extension from the rubber to the plate. He's a bigger guy. He throws across his body, but he's pulling this pitch. And when you pull that pitch, you miss badly.
Well, that was not a good bunt at all. An easy out. Peterson, you can hear him yell at himself. He's trying to make John Lester field the bunt, but he bunted it hard right at Chris Bryant.
Well, it is the right approach. And as you watch this, Bryant reading the play, coming in, and it's easy play for Bryant.
This is a guy who hit 25 home runs. That's a gift. And you get the play. You're down by 3. You're trying to get on. They're going to a pinch hitter. Andre Ethier will be the hitter. So get on base, that's fine, but the bunt was just not well placed.
Yeah. Good news, bad news for the Dodgers. This is the only lefty starter that the Cubs obviously have. And they're a big left-handed lineup. And we talked about their misfortunes against left-handers. But in the pen, Joe Maddon has got some left-handers to deal with it, with Montgomery, Wood, and not to mention Chapman. Throws 170.
So Ethier, who is the vet, the longest tenured Los Angeles Dodger currently on the roster, digs in with 2 out, nobody on. They've got 4 lefties on the bench. The Dodgers and 1 switch hitter in Rondal, their catcher. Strike 1. Let's go down to Tom Verducci after this 0-1 pitch with 2 out, nobody on. Ethier trying to figure out Lester. Tom, what's up?
You know, when Ethier was announced, David Ross checked his cheat sheet. He's got that wristband, almost like an NFL quarterback. Doesn't have plays on it, but it does have scouting reports on all the players. And believe me, he's got a lot of information in a very small area. He has notes there about who swings when the count's 2-0, whose take influences pitch calling, and he said it reconfirms the pitch calling with the pitcher, checking the info so the pitcher doesn't have to.
Left center field, back at the wall, it is gone. The Dodgers with a pinch hit home run from Andre Ethier, and it's a 2-run game. That ball got up into the jet stream and just carried on out of here on what looked like off the bat a routine fly ball to left.
Yeah, it looked like a lazy fly ball, but he had tremendous backspin when he gets and connects with this. The ball just gets up there and keeps going. I was watching Fowler, and he just kept drifting. And of course, 368 in the power alleys, not much, especially when the wind's blowing out.
2 out, nobody on. The batter is Kendrick, and he grounds to Addison Russell. But the Dodgers are on the board as Andre Ethier, former All-Star for these Dodgers, comes off the bench and delivers a shot to left center. That ball got out. And this is just a 2-run game halfway through game 1. Now, but that's from the manually operated scoreboard in center field. It was put in back in the 30s, 1937. Bill Veeck. That has been an iconic symbol across baseball. That big scoreboard out in center with the old school clock up above. Wind is whipping. It helped that ball hit by Ethier to put the Dodgers on the board. 3-1 game, bottom of the 5th. 2, 3, and 4 hitters for the Cubs. Bryant, 1 ball, 1 strike. Our AT&T call to the bullpen. Pedro Baez, who was busy during the regular season and has already been involved in 4 games this postseason, takes over for Maeda.
Really good fastball, real good slider on that action downward, and a changeup. Fastball can touch 97. That's outside.
Baez is a deliberate worker. Is that the right way to say that?
Snickers commercial.
Yes.
Not going anywhere for a while. He's going to make the most of his appearances. Usually anywhere between 45 seconds and a minute per pitch he averages. Now obviously if he gets it done quicker with results, he likes to take his time.
2-1 to Bryant. 3-1. Baez came in and threw one pitch in Game 4 at Dodger Stadium and hit Jason Worth. And the Nationals made that comeback late in the game in an inning started by Clayton Kershaw. One on a hit by Utley. He threw one pitch, came out, got booed. Here he is pitching in Game 1 of the NLCS with his team down by 2, trying to keep it right there. Bryant looking for something to crush. Takes a leadoff walk. Let's go back to the home run by Andre Ethier.
Well, it's not a terrible pitch. 94-mile-an-hour fastball, four-seamer. And you can tell Lester thinking that's just a pop-up. I'm going to walk off. And then as he sees the numbers of his outfielders, which means the back of them, the Dodgers were pretty surprised as well.
Nobody's celebrating with the ball off the bat. Until it lands in the bleachers in left center. It's 3-1. Here's Rizzo. And the Cub fans are saying, when does Anthony Rizzo find his stroke? 1 for 17.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a rough start for Anthony Rizzo. And certainly he makes everything click as Bryant's been doing his part.
.32 home runs during the regular season. Ball 1. That was a minute between ball 4 to Chris Bryant and ball 1 to Anthony Rizzo.
Well, they've tried to speed him up. It just doesn't work. And the new rule in baseball that's coming will force him to speed up. That's a pitcher's clock.
Rizzo. Foul ball. Look out. That is one aspect to Wrigley Field, and they're calling medical help down to whoever was on the other end of that line drive. These seats are so close at Wrigley. If you're not paying attention, or even if you are, foul balls like that are pulled are scary.
Rizzo just invites you to throw a pitch in there. As a pitcher, it looks enticing. You can get it in there. He doesn't miss many of them.
Now set up at 1-2.
Once you expand the zone up and he starts choking up, he's vulnerable to the pitch down, whether it's the slider at the back foot or the changeup. So they elevated his eyes up, and as he gets into protect mode, you'll see with about an inch or two off the end of the bat. They're going to try to go back upstairs.
Got it. Rizzo can't lay off that high delivery, and that's out number 1. Told that the man that was hit by that foul ball on the second strike to Rizzo is fine. He's okay. Got the ball as a souvenir, and Rizzo, with Ruiz standing, can't lay off. 1 out, and the batter will be Zobrist. There's a guy who got hit right in the middle. Zobrist is 0 for 1 with a walk. That'll get out of play. one out, 0-1 the count. Check on Bryant.
Zobrist came into the year on fire the first 2 months. He's been an on-base percentage, just killing it the last 6 years, working his way on the base, but he's cooled off since May, trying to regain that stroke, especially now in the postseason. Kind of like he did with the Royals. I'd like to add another ring.
0-1 the count from Baez. Talk about the month of May for Zobrist. He hit .406. 6 of his 18 home runs in that 1 month. He hit just .237 the rest of the year, including the postseason coming in. So May was kind. He is trying to find that stroke in the second full month of the season. Cubs trying to take advantage of a leadoff walk to Bryant. That's a strike. 1-2.
Real good slider right there. You see how that thing starts in the middle of the zone and goes down 4 inches. See the grip and the spin.
Runner goes. Zobrist pops it up, and Bryant has to come back. He has time as Turner hauls it in. 2 down. So 2 out, and the batter will be Addison Russell. Play ball is MLB's initiative to inspire all forms of baseball and softball participation, making play opportunities available and fun for everyone. To learn more, go to playball.org.
It's interesting. I learned something with, it's actually Pedro Martinez and Carlos Pena introducing me to the game, bottle caps or caps. I asked Pedro Baez, what did he play besides the normal baseball growing up? Javier Baez, and he said caps, beans, all the different ways to play and create the game of baseball without the actual playing of a baseball. When you see Pedro Martinez throw it's a bigger bottle cap. It's not what you would think on a Coke bottle. It's actually more on the water jugs.
What he can make it do.
Oh my gosh.
With 1 on, 2 out. The batter is Russell. Good fastball at 98 from Baez. Strike 1. Baez trying to turn in a good inning against the 2, 3, and 4 hitters. Now facing the 5th hitter after the walk. Check on Bryant. Those young players, boys and girls in third world nations, have to get creative.
Yep.
Whether it's finding different things to throw as a ball or things trying to hit. That's what Javier Baez was talking about, trying to hit beans with a bat or a stick. Fashioning a glove out of a milk carton. Developing that great hand-eye coordination. Russell on 0-1. Can't hold up. Went around. Strike 2. Baez has made some good pitches.
He has, and the Dodgers don't care how long it takes as long as he puts up a 0. His stuff can be electric. You see Russell. Hart was in it.
This is a game. This is a 2-run game with a wind blowing out at Wrigley Field. The Dodgers will have Turner, Seager, and Puig, 2, 3, and 4 hitters in the top of the 6th. Here's the 0-2. Really bothered for paying a lot of attention to Chris Bryant. He was 8 for 13 in the stolen base department during the regular season.
Well, with 2 strikes, 2 outs, it's a situation Joe Maddon wants to send Bryant.
Russell lost the bat. Thankfully, the backstop screen corralled it. And the count's still 0-2.
honestly say I was never a good hitter. But to do that it's hard to do. Hit the ball and lose the bat.
Well, we heard Jake Arrieta talking about taking a little something off his grip, trying to make good contact, and maybe Russell did, to the point where he could not maintain control of it. Counts remained 0-2. Bryant's been at first with nobody out. He's there with 2 out. And he will stay right there with an 0-2 count on Russell.
Calls for slider down and away. Let's see what Baez, who's been riding his fastball up. Throw over to first.
Steps called from the bench, so Dave Roberts and the Dodger bench in no hurry to get through the bottom of this 5th. And why would they be? Every out, as both these teams have proven already this postseason, so precious. And steps off.
Well, this is what you this is what he does. Like you said, if you can get him out, you can put up with it. And he takes his time.
11 minutes to throw 17 pitches as he brings home another 0-2.
Well, it's tough on the defense. So as a defender, you're standing out there a long time without action. You just hope to be ready when the ball's put in play.
Now the 1-2 pitch to Addison Russell. The ball! Ruiz trying to frame it outside, 2-2.
Well, they're sticking with the fastball, but I think anything wrinkling over the plate down, it'd be very hard for Russell to stay off of it. There he tried to paint the outside corner with a fastball.
Rizzo, the number 3 hitter, is 1 for 18. Zobrist is 3 for 18 this postseason. Russell is 1 for 17. The heart of this order for Chicago. As I said, they hit just 200 in the 4-game series as it turned out with the Giants. But won it with good starting pitching and good work at the end of it. The back end of the bullpen with Chapman striking out the side to end game 4. Out in San Francisco. Two. Struck him out. A 97-mile-an-hour fastball, and I'm going to say it again. This is a game. The wind is blowing out at Wrigley. The 2, 3, and 4 hitters. Seager due up second. Batting for the Dodgers in the 6th. 3-1 Cubs. Tonight's telecast is presented by T-Mobile One. Tight game, 3-1, and this has the feel of what could be a very important inning for John Lester and for the Dodgers. 2, 3, and 4 hitters: Turner, Seager, and Puig. Breaking ball misses. Ball 1 to Turner, who's 0 for 2.
Yeah, Edwards is warming up as evidence of Madden seeing the same thing. John Lester has been dominant throughout all of his second half. But sorry, Joe.
Go ahead. Hayward, man, you can see how much the wind is playing with that ball. He had to scramble a bit at the end to haul in a routine fly, 1 out.
He hasn't missed as many barrels as he normally does, and they've been getting good swings, so Joe Madden's not going to, traditionally as you would in a regular season game, not sweat this at all in the 6th inning with a 2-run lead. But any trouble in this particular inning, you might see either the lefty or Carl Edwards Jr. come into this game.
Here's Seager, strike 1. Mike Montgomery has joined Carl Edwards Jr. in the bullpen for the Cubs. Seager 1 for 2, lined out, singled, strike 2 on the inside corner. Now the 0-2. Wouldn't go after it. Ball 1. John Lester is 11-2. 16 starts here at Wrigley, including game 1 of the division series, and over the last 11, 10-0. And the Cubs are 11-0. He's made the start here at home, leading by 2. 1-2 pitch. Little bit low. 2-2.
Yeah, great discipline there by Seager. I'm sure Lester was quite surprised he didn't come out of his shoes swinging at that pitch. You see the numbers right there. He has been just as well as the whole Cubs staff, really. Taking advantage of the wind traditionally playing in and their defense.
It was 0-2, now it's 2-2. 2 out. Third strikeout for John Lester. Our Michelob Ultra game summary. Javier Baez stole home in the 2nd inning for the Cubs, their first steal of home in the postseason since 1907 World Series Game 4. Lester, the only blemish on the scoreboard that counts is that last line. Andre Ethier, pinch hit home run. 8th in Dodgers postseason history, came in the 5th. Here is Puig, ball 1 that Lester wanted to get, didn't. Yasiel for 2. This season, Puig actually hit over 300 with runners on, but 217 with the bases empty. One of the reasons why he found himself back in AAA. That is Rizzo. How about some more defense for the Cubs? It's been Fowler in center. It's been Baez in games past this postseason. Now Rizzo. The defense helping Lester through 6. Bottom half, 3-1 Chicago. Pedro Baez is back for more. Bottom of the 6th inning. 3-1 game. Cubs lead. Leading off Hayward. Got the scoring started in the 2nd with a leadoff triple, scored on a bloop double. Hit by Javier Baez, who would later steal home to make it 3-0. Good pitching, good defense ever since, really on both sides. The 0-1.
If you want to know what the biggest problem has been for Jason Hayward this year, it's velocity. Average batting average against a fastball, he's way below league average. He has had a hard time with the mechanics of his swing catching up to any good velocity over the strike zone.
It's upstairs, 2-1. Jason Hayward is still in the category of young. He's 27. Came up as a kid with the Braves in 2010. Hit 18 home runs. 2-1 pitch. That's in the air to left. Easy for Kendrick. 1 out. Tonight's T-Mobile One in-game box score for the Cubs. Fowler has a hit. Made his biggest impact with his glove. Bryant with a double. An RBI double back in the 1st. He's walked. Part of the order still struggling for Chicago. But Hayward with the triple. Run scored. Baez with the ball off the end of the bat. Bad break for Kenta Maeda. Fell in. Would later steal home on play where Baez had wandered too far from 3rd with his lead on a safety squeeze and just kept on coming and made it. Ball 1.
You know, this game is such a game of adjustments, and we have so much knowledge, so many statistics. Everybody knows what everybody's going to do, and it comes down to executing. But if you take that away, if you allow a pitcher to get you out the same way, then that's a huge advantage for the pitcher, and the hitter has to be able to make a pitcher adjust, make him go to different areas to get you out. If he can get you out in the same area one time, that takes the stress right away.
Here's a 1-0. Baez has the RBI double. He actually hit the ball better his next time up, lined out to left in the 4th. And again, he's the hottest guy in this lineup. He's got 7 hits in 18 postseason at-bats, but the old man to this point has resisted the urge to move him up in the lineup out of that 7 spot. 2-0. 2-1.
Well, if the Cubs keep winning, maybe he doesn't have to, but I maintain before this series is over, he's going to be forced with that real opportunity to change his lineup if he keeps getting the lack of production. When you face a lineup in the postseason, as a pitcher, you go to, this is where I can go get my outs. This is the guy that I can get strikeouts. This is the guy that I know is going to take his walks. And you kind of categorize it that way.
That's a fair ball down the right field line. The hits keep coming, and Baez keeps running to second with a 1-out double.
This kid has made major adjustments. When you talk about adjustments, see how the foot's down. It's not the huge leg kick, and he's not concerned with always hitting the ball out of the ballpark. It's a fastball that beats him, but what does he do? He stays with it, goes the other way, and another extra base hit.
The strikeout rate for Baez in 2014 was 41.5% of the time he was striking out. Last year he came up, only got into 28 games. The strikeout rate went down even further down after 30% a year ago, 24%. And it does have to do with that left foot, that left leg kick. When it's down, he has been deadly.
And I could see where Joe Maddon's saying if I move him up in the order, that leg kick may go higher and higher. But look, the pitcher or the hitter, when you get in the box, someone's got the advantage. And you see how he turns his heel, gets on his toe, and then he doesn't allow any extra movement. He had a big wiggle with those hands, and he just allows the bat and his strength to do the work. But if you feel like you're overmatched at the plate, you're going to be aggressive on early pitches because you don't want to get to 2 strikes and expand the zone.
Now it's David Ross with the pitcher John Lester on deck. And action for the Cubs out in the bullpen. Managerial wheels start to turn. 1 on, 1 out. Ross 0 for 2.
And so to finish that point, if I only have to throw you 1 strike as a pitcher, my job's not that hard. But if I got to throw you 3 strikes and you're going to make me work for everything, that's when this postseason, every guy that gets on base is a huge rally, and the stress and, of course, the crowd. Nobody takes an at-bat off. You got to be able to execute, and a hitter that makes a pitcher work harder, well, that's going to make for a team success.
David Ross, who has seen a lot in his years, is going to retire at the end of the season, 39, and he has cited concussions as a part of his decision. All those foul tips, balls off the mask. This is going to be it. Here's an 0-1 and Baez. Kenny, would you like to fill some time here and talk about David Ross and his bet with Theo?
Sure, Joe. Basically, David Ross has said the only way he won't retire is if the Cubs make him a qualifying offer, which this offseason will be valued at $17.2 million. Well, Theo Epstein told him before the division series started, you go deep in game 1 and I'll make you that offer. Ross nearly did, and he went deep later in the series, but Epstein said, nope, not good enough.
This Baez is really tough to watch. As you said, forget that it's, you're looking for stuff here and the crowd gets frustrated and they're booing him and all that, but the defense is just standing there flat-footed while he's just taking forever. Here comes the 0-1 to Ross. Strike 2. He's got good stuff. He's shown that already tonight.
He does. His fastball can beat a lot of these Cub hitters, as Ross would prefer a 2-seamer over a 4-seamer. Try to get Ross, I'm sure, on this at bat right here with 2 strikes, going to try and get it started as quick as possible. But Baez could do himself and Dodgers. He could find a way next season to quicken it up a little.
Allowing players a chance to give manicures to themselves. Here's the 0-2. Ross strikes out. Breeze wanted it up. He got it up, and we'll see if that's it for Lester. Here comes Soler. Lester is finished after going 6. And I don't think he's too happy about that. That is a frustrated pitcher, John Lester, who went 6 and allowed 1 run on 4 hits.
Well, he just loves going deep, in the game and pitching his team to a higher probability of win by giving them 7-8 innings. Like I said, it wasn't his sharpest, but man, he grinds and he knows how to compete. He's not going to be satisfied with it, but he did give his team a great chance.
Rick Honeycutt goes out to talk. It's going to be Jorge Soler as the pinch hitter. Soler's got a world of talent. He'll make starts against left-handed starters. We could see him tomorrow night against Kershaw. But it just hasn't totally clicked at the big league level for Soler.
No, he's had some injury problems this year, nagging him a little bit, quad and hamstring. But I think, for a guy with his size and power, he's got a little bit too long of a swing at times. That's a tougher recipe against a guy with velocity.
Soler hit .238 this season, did hit 12 home runs. Was it AAA, was it AA as he rehabbed an injury? 24-year-old outfielder, born in Cuba, lives in Haiti, and waits for a delivery from Baez. Ball one. What do you think? Would you have taken John Lester out of this game as Travis Wood gets ready to come in alongside Carl Edwards Jr.?
That literally is a 50-50 call, and I think for, again, Joe Maddon reading the swings that the Dodgers started getting and just the crispness or the lack of it, I think he feels better that he can throw his left-hander and keep a left-hander in there and mix in Carl Edwards when he needs to. He knows the importance of game one and getting off to a good start. He's confident in his bullpen.
Confident in Soler, looking for a 2-out hit. Chased it upstairs at 97.
Yeah, that's something we just talked about it. I mean, that coming off the bench is one thing. Coming off the bench and facing 96, 97 up.
Trying to deliver a run from second with Baez out there. 2 out. To the shortstop, Seager. And the Dodgers have gotten John Lester out of this game. It's now in the hands of the two bullpens. We go to the 7th inning of game one. Dodgers coming up. Gonzalez will lead it off, trailing by 2. Chevrolet, more 2016 J.D. Power Dependability Awards than any other brand. And by State Farm, talk to an agent today at 800 State Farm. Glad they're with us on FS1. Glad you are. This is a game, a 2-run game, 7th inning, and Adrian Gonzalez 1 for 2 leads it off against Travis Wood. First out of the Cubs bullpen tonight, won't be the last. Count goes to 2-0. Lester went 6. Allowed 1 run on 4 hits, struck out 3, walked 1. The run scoring on a home run that was wind aided off the bat of Andre Ethier, as Travis Wood has fallen behind here 2-0. Good regular season. He was busy. 77 games. They had to back him off down the stretch. Baez out number 1. And Ruiz is coming up, and Joe Maddon's coming out. Every weekday morning, Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp go head-to-head on the day's hottest sports topics. Undisputed with Skip and Shannon weekdays from 9:30 a.m. to noon Eastern, only on FS1. That's the night for Travis Wood. Carl Edwards Jr. coming in, with Carlos Ruiz, the scheduled hitter, to bat here in the top of the 7th. 3-1 Chicago. Counter the pitching change with a pinch hitter. Yasmani Grandal will come off the bench and bat against Carl Edwards Jr., the 25-year-old right-hander. He is not big, meaning weight. He is long, lean, and he's got a very live arm.
He sure does. Fastball, curveball. He'll throw a cutter as well.
There's a little heat at 97 and strike 2 on Grandal.
Grandal's hit a lot of home runs against right-handed pitching this year. 24 of them.
He's got power, the switch hitter, batting left-handed. 0-2 pitch. Laid off. Grandal with 1 out, nobody on. Edwards from Prosperity, South Carolina, brings it, got it. Struck him out, 2 out.
This is overpowering. Guy comes off the bench, cold, takes some flips and swings underneath, but a unique way that Carl Edwards throws the baseball. A lot of spin on his 4-seam fastball, which creates an illusion that it's actually faster than miles per hour.
Breaking ball misses. Interesting that Dave Roberts wouldn't use a pinch hitter here for Kike Hernandez. Hit 190. Can hit the home run ball, hit 7, but he's got Chase Utley on the bench. The Cubs have Mike Montgomery, a lefty, in the bullpen. That breaking ball misses, 2-0, and Utley stays on the bench. Realize that the closer for the Cubs is a left-hander, Aroldis Chapman. This may be one of the last times you could use Utley against a right-hander. Here's a 2-0. 2-1.
And I think part of that, what you just said, coupled with Peterson on deck, which would allow Madden to have the lefty face 2 consecutive left-handers if they were to make the pinch hit change here for Hernandez.
Yep, that's the decision. The answer is Hernandez, and the count's 2-2. Roberts wanted Hernandez against Edwards as opposed to Utley against Montgomery. This bullpen trying to give a scoreless 7. Dangerous foul ball with Jock Peterson sneaking out of that on-deck circle closer to the plate. This is the last hitter for Edwards. The home run threat, the lefty Peterson. Montgomery's getting ready for him. 2 out in the inning. And a 2-2.
See the cut on that 96 mile an hour. He gets just a little bit to the side of that baseball. Boy, when he stays back, keeps it over the middle. Late life.
3-2 pitch. That will bring the tying run to the plate, and in all likelihood bring Joe Madden out of the dugout.
And not crazy about the 3-2 curveball right there when you're 96 beating the barrel of the bat of Hernandez. Nowhere close to even enticing.
So the tying run coming up for the Dodgers. Montgomery coming out of the bullpen for the Cubs here in the 7th. Telecast presented by T-Mobile One. T-Mobile in-game box score brought to you by T-Mobile One. There you go. Not many hits. Only 4 of them for the Dodgers, but they have the tying run at the plate. The guy hitting the 8th spot. 0 for 2 as Jock Peterson takes on the left-hander Mike Montgomery.
Montgomery, really good curveball, good fastball, but against Peterson, stay firm. Throw the slider versus the curveball. You don't want it rolling. Like
there's a strike.
Peterson's got a swing. meant to hit fly balls and meant to hit homers, so he likes to uppercut and swing. The only thing as a lefty on lefty, you don't want that big curveball rolling over the middle of the zone. Stay hard away, and that slider, better success.
Strike two. With the wind blowing out, we've seen already it doesn't take much to get one out of the ballpark, and if it comes here, the game's tied. Eddie Vedder watching his Cubs, who lead by 2. 3 pitchers in the inning for Joe Maddon. Wood, Edwards, Montgomery. Time call.
I'm David Ross. I'm trying to steal a good 3 to 4 inches on the outer part of the plate. This should be nowhere close. It's got to be down on the outer part of the plate. It will result in an out if he executes it. Oh my. There's the one you got on point. The curveball in the zone gives him time to uncoil. This one right here, that's a no-no. Late break, just enough outside. There's the knuckle curveball. That's the bigger, slower break.
Oh, 2.
That's the one.
It took 3 to get 3. And from Vedder to Cusack to Murray, they cheer the 7th inning stretch up 2. First pitch misses, down and away. Top of the order for Chicago. Fowler, Bryant, Rizzo against Ross Stripling. 22 games, bounced up and down. Between the big leagues and the minor leagues, went 5 and 9, but boy, did he make a debut. Fowler into shallow center. Peterson coming on. 1 out. Before we talk more about Ross Stripling, let's go back to that last out.
Yeah, first pitch cutter, firm, and then he started with the breaking balls. There's the foul ball, and then this one not so good. And Ross did a great job getting him down on this one.
That guy in the middle, by the way, goes by the name of Chris Chelios, beloved here in Chicago. Longtime Chicago Blackhawk. Looks like he could still play. He played forever. Detroit as well. With 1 out, nobody on. The batter is Bryant.
I think of Dave Roberts, and just all that comes with managing in and of itself is tough. But you mentioned Stripling, a no-hitter, and he had to take him out. He cared more about the young man's health. And then even with Hill, worried about the blister taking him out of his game.
Count evens in 1. Yeah, April 8th, major league debut for Ross Stripling at the Giants. 7 1/3 innings of no-hit baseball, and then he came out of the game. A lot of work between Dave Roberts and Rick Honeycutt. There's a strike on a borderline pitch, 1 and 2. We're trying to massage this pitching staff to get to this point.
Absolutely, and a great story as he took all kinds of grief, as you can imagine, taking somebody out from a no-hitter. He goes on his daily walk, go get some coffee. The gentleman next to him and said, "Thank you very much." And he turned to him, he says, "For what?" "Taking care of my son." It's Ross's dad saying, "I appreciate the fact that you care more about his career and longevity than necessarily the moment and getting caught up in it."
Guy's been through Tommy John, working his way back. He's got good stuff, as you can see. A couple of years removed from the procedure. The count 2 and 2 on Bryant. Been on base twice. Just outside.
It's a great pitch and a great take.
Broken back from deep in the hole. Seager. 2 out. Batter will be Rizzo. Tomorrow it's a big day. Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader. You can start with Fox NFL Kickoff, then America's #1 pregame show. Then they call him Zeke. Ezekiel Elliott and the Cowboys collide with Aaron Rodgers. The Packers in America's Game of the Week. Or other regional action coverage begins at 11 a.m. Eastern on Fox. Week 6 in the NFL.
How about my adopted team, the Falcons?
Boy, they look great.
It was the first game. The sky's falling in Atlanta.
That's a strike to Rizzo.
They got to go out to Denver, Seattle, Oakland. Not bad.
Not bad at all. Good for Matt Ryan, one of the good guys in professional sports. 2 out, nobody on. Stripling trying to turn in an uneventful 7th. Rizzo. Into center. Back Peterson. And a 1-2-3-7. Cubs still waiting for Rizzo's bat to arrive. We go to the 8th. Still 3-1 Chicago. tight 2-run game as we go to the 8th inning. Montgomery back to work at the plate, and now on at first base with a pinch hit single is Andrew Tolles. Just like that, the Dodgers will bring the tying run to the plate again. Kendrick is coming up, and Rondon is out in the bullpen with Chapman. Who's it going to be? It'll be Rondon. Stroke, rather. Rondon had been up. Now Stroke. But any more sign of trouble, and Chapman is waiting. But off the bench, another successful pinch hitting appearance for the Dodgers. This one for Andrew Tolles, on to start the 8th. We say greetings from Chicago and Wrigley Field in a 2-run game. Great Harry Carey, the Hall of Famer. And inside, there is action and there is tension. Pedro Strop takes over and deals with Chase Utley off the bench. And Aroldis Chapman is getting ready. You've got Utley now, the right-handed hitting Turner on deck, and then Seager. So Chapman is getting ready in all likelihood to come in here in the 8th inning, barring a double play. But it's Strop now and Utley tying run. That's a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, that's Strop's signature pitch, that slider, that downer. He's got a good fastball, but he loves going to that slider. And the cat and mouse game of Utley, is he taking or is he sitting on a fastball? Well, the first 2 he looked at. It's the one pitch that has given Utley problems lately, that slider, back foot slider against right-handers.
Chase takes ball 2. Pedro Strop had a terrific season. As you look at this pitch again, like it caught the bottom part of the strike zone, called ball 2. Good batting average against. As Utley lays off the pitch, it's 3-1. Patient at bat by Chase Utley, and now he is sitting on a pitch with the count in his favor. Utley, all those years in Philadelphia, has a World Series ring. He has starred in October. He takes ball 4, and That'll put 2 on with nobody out. We go back 2 pitches. And the check by Chase Utley. It looked like he held up, and a good call by the third base umpire, Angel Hernandez. That's the last pitch. So he was around the strike zone, not in it. Now the tying runs are on with nobody out.
And Ross had a decent discussion with home plate umpire. Normally the catcher will look straight ahead and have a conversation. He actually turned around. Wants to know where those pitches are at the bottom of the zone.
Well, these Dodgers keep on fighting, and they have a life here in the 8th. Strike 1 on Justin Turner. The tying runs are on. There's nobody out. Turner, the number 2 hitter, is 0 for 3. But 6 for 18 this postseason. Chapman is ready with Seager on deck. The 0-1. In the dirt, ball and a strike.
Turner, one of the better hitters with running in scoring position. Second half, much better. Really, the last 28 or 30 games have been much better. When Clayton Kershaw went down, they needed everybody to step up. Turner recovering from off-season surgery, much more locked in now.
Here's a 1-1. Changed up on him, pulled the string, strike 2, an 84-mile-an-hour pitch. And Turner out front. Little cut to it. Fooled Turner. Two and two. Opponents hit only 163 during the regular season against Stroke. Among National League relievers, that was the 4th best. Now the pressure of the NLCS. To third, Bryant will go to the back, too late. Bases loaded. It's going to be an infield hit for Justin Turner, and with that, the Dodgers have loaded the bases.
Well, this play takes him to his backhand, and when he goes to the bag, the speed of Toles. Head first slide. Turner gets out of the gate, not too bad either.
And we're going to see Chapman. How about Andrew Toles? He led off with a base hit off the left-hander Montgomery. His speed got him to third base, ahead of Chris Bryant. And now Chapman with the bases loaded and nobody out, into the game up by 2. 10 career games against the Dodgers. But earlier in this postseason, Division Series Game 3 coming on in the 8th inning, and Gillespie got him for the Giants. Took the lead, were eventually tied in the 9th inning and a home run by Bryant, but they won it in the 13th. And now Chapman in the home whites is dealing with Corey Seager, the 22-year-old shortstop. Batting with the bases loaded, nobody out. And his Dodgers down by 2. Strike 1.
Well, for Chapman coming in this situation, the tendency would be, I got to get out of this with no runs. The reality is, you really need to get out of it with 1 run. And at the worst, keep it tied. He's inherited 3 runners with nobody out. To give up 1 run would be an incredible job, even though he throws 102. The likelihood of getting out of this with no runs,
it's an interesting stat that 8 of 14 inherited runners have scored this season against Chapman. Coming in mid-inning, in trouble, but not trouble by his own doing. And the count evens, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Yeah, and that's the issue when you're used to coming into clean innings. You can work yourself into a rhythm and work yourself out of trouble, but you're coming in to work out of trouble immediately.
Here's a 1-1 to Seager. Strike 2.
The thing Chapman has gotten so much better at in his career as he has evolved, the command of his fastball, so much better than earlier part of his career.
The 1-2. Got it. 1-1.
That's just electric. As good as Seager is, the shorter compact swings have a chance. This is tremendous power and leverage and extension. Believe it or not, the hitter sees it faster than the 102 or 103 because of the extension he has. Looks like he's reaching out on top of the hitter.
Here's Puig. That's a pop-up right side. Rizzo can't make the catch. And here we are in an NLCS with a ball down the line, albeit the other side of Wrigley, where a catch, a ball, in this case, went in and out of the glove of Anthony Rizzo. And he overreached and hit him in the heel of the glove.
Yeah, he's made that play a few times, standing on the tarp.
Here comes the 0-1 pitch to Puig with new life. That's out of play, 0-2. There was a moment earlier in this inning when the veteran Adrian Gonzalez went to Yasiel Puig in the dugout. You can see he's talking about Chapman.
Setting him up, giving him some simple instructions if there is such a thing.
Well, he's got him here. Bases loaded, 1 out, the 0-2. Just fighting it off to stay alive.
Yeah, Puig doing a good job trying to cut down his swing. Again, big swings, no chance. A ball up, you swing right under it. You use Chapman's power. If you can stay disciplined, get a little lucky as a hitter, and pick out the spot, and use his power, you don't have to generate as much when a guy's throwing that hard. But good luck trying to get lucky in that one area. again. Ice water, throwing as hard as he can. The one guy I think's got the swing. Puig did his best, but the guy, as Rizzo says, thank you for picking me up, chap. I think Gonzalez has the right approach. And to serve it in the left field.
They're playing him to hit it that way. Gonzalez. Ball one outside.
Gonzalez so quiet with his mechanics, trusting his hands and his swing.
Base hit out of the infield likely ties it. The outfielders are deep. Middle runner, the tying run, is Utley at second. 2 out. Strike one. Nine of the 10 pitches have been 100 miles per hour or more. That's into center field, a base hit. 1 run scores. Fowler can't make the play. This game is tied. Gonzalez delivers.
First and third.
3-3 here in the 8th inning. And a chance to take the lead.
Just what I was saying, it's the right approach, up the middle the other way. You can't think about pulling, and he just lets the power be his advocate right there as he goes right up the middle. Gonzalez, a professional hitter. The Dodgers grinding it out.
And the veteran Adrian Gonzalez took his own advice with Chapman on the mound. Now a strike is into Grandal.
Again, this is the hardest part of a closer. You're so used to protecting the lead. You've got to change your mind and keep the game right here. When you give up runs, there's something that sets off in a closer that feels like you let somebody down. Bases loaded, nobody out. You didn't leave anybody down if you keep the game tied.
Gonzalez takes second, uncontested. And that's big. Now a hit could mean 2. As Grandal, who is 0 for 1 since entering as a pinch hitter in the 7th, has a 1-1 count. And it is a stolen base for Gonzalez. The hero for the Dodgers in the 8th. Chapman now trying to keep it 3-3. Ball 2. The Cubs in the bottom of this inning will have Zobrist, Russell, and Hayward. With Blanton getting ready for the Dodgers in their bullpen. 2-2. Grandal trying to give the Dodgers their first lead. Down the right field line, slicing out of play. All 3 wins by the Dodgers in the division series against the Nationals was by 1 run. All those moves out of the bullpen. There will be more to come for Dave Roberts. Kershaw gets the ball tomorrow night. LCS has a very different feel to it right now. Tie game, chance for the lead. Grandal. Shortstop Russell. It's 3-3. The Dodgers get their first hit this postseason with the bases loaded. They're now 1 for 12. And it comes off the bat of Adrian Gonzalez. He's tied it. in the top of the 8th. This is turning into a terrific game 1. For the Dodgers, with Hernandez going from second to right. Utley stays in the game at second. Zobrist takes a strike. It's Andrew Toles out in left. And on the mound is Joe Blanton, who has been a godsend in the bullpen for the Dodgers, and Dave Roberts. In a 3-3 game, bottom of the 8th, Zobrist. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Joe Blanton, formerly a starter, really finding a nice spot in the bullpen. Very flexible. They can use him for a variety of situations. Changed his body, changed a few things mechanically. Having a great year for the Dodgers.
Zobrist with a 1-1 count. Tie game. That's into the gap in right center field. And here come the Cubs. Zobrist with a leadoff double.
Peterson does a great job cutting this ball off. Watch at the end as Zobrist knows he's heading for 2 right when he hits it. This ball easily could have got by the slide and keeping this from being a triple. Now we'll find out if Joe Madden elects for Russell, who has struggled, to put a bunt down to get him to third base.
Doing that for Jason Hayward, who has struggled. He's in the on-deck circle, so this will be interesting, you're right, to see how Joe Madden wants to play it. No sign of a bunt. Ball 1. Turner backs up 2 steps at third. Sometimes they'll give a pitch and then put the bunt on the second delivery. 2-0. It's 3-0. It's interesting because Chapman's in the game. And his spot isn't that far away. 4 hitters after Russell. Here's a 3-0. Strike 1.
Russell likes to attack the fastball and see if Joe Blatton on 3-1 feeds off the aggressiveness of Russell and throws something other than a fastball.
Tricked him, fooled him, full count.
And that's what I was talking about earlier. Know the hitters that you don't have to throw a strike to. If they're aggressive by nature, they get more aggressive in trying to be the hero. So now 3-2, Russell's thinking, well, shoot. I wonder if he's going to come right back with the same pitch.
Russell swung at ball 4. Now the count is full. Left side. Turner, good play. 1 out. And Russell does not advance the runner. His struggles really continuing.
And by not being patient, that caused the at-bat to change. A 3-2 slider again as Turner makes a nice in-between pop, and he not only doesn't get the runner over, he could have had first and second, nobody out. Those are the things in the playoffs. Everyone wants to be the guy, but it's the guy that keeps the moment slow as possible to a regular season environment that'll have more success.
Tonight's telecast is sponsored by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss. Well, now it's Hayward. And John, we just saw Dave Roberts go out and talk, and there's no doubt that a part of the conversation is where Chapman is. You've got Hayward, then the red-hot Baez, then you've got the lighter-hitting catcher Ross Chapman. And because he's lurking a few hitters away, Hector Rondon, the former closer, is getting ready for the Cubs in their bullpen.
Now this surprises me, and the reason I say it surprises me is attacking Hayward, then you can walk Baez. But by putting Hayward on, you now have to pitch to Baez. So what Dave Roberts is saying, he believes his slider is going to be better suited against an aggressive Baez than attacking Hayward in this situation.
Two on, 1 out. A double, a ground out, the intentional walk. Well, you're right. That's a gamble. There's one hitter right now who the Cubs would want to have up there. He's walking to the plate. Javier Baez.
Absolutely. And the first pitch will tell me a lot as a pitcher. This is the cat and mouse game that I'm sure they've already talked about. You almost have to start him off with a slider. You can't take and assume anything. You've got to try to think that he's going to expand the zone. He's hot, but each pitcher has made a mistake to him, and he's made them pay.
.421 average this postseason. And if Baez delivers here, Roberts will have to answer as to why he walked Jason Hayward to get to Javier Baez. Zobrist, the lead runner at second. Popped up right side. Will it stay in play? It will. A big second out as Hernandez hauls it in. And it's 2 on, 2 out.
See, Blanton is so deceiving with that short slider that he throws. As a hitter, you think, oh, maybe it's a fastball. But again, this is a perfectly executed pitch on the outer part of the plate. Baez wanting to get it done, swings at a ball outside the zone and pops it up.
Well, now it's Coughlin with Aroldis Chapman's spot next.
So the gamble for Dave Roberts paid off, saying, I trust my guy, right-hander, against Baez, even though he's hot. I'm going to throw him nothing but sliders and prey off of his aggressiveness.
Well, there's already been a visit to the mound, so Roberts can't come out and talk, or he'd have to take Blanton out. So they're going to run it themselves. This is interesting because if you pitch around Coughlin, there's a base open, albeit third base. You're going to get Chapman out of the game, and they are going to walk him. And Dave Roberts is going to force the hand here of Joe Maddon to either send Chapman to the plate, unlikely, or lift him for the pinch hitter and turn the game over to Rondon in the bullpen.
It's not like Dave Roberts hasn't been forced with a million decisions in his last game. I'm sure this is what he's saying is, I'll take my chances against anybody else but Chapman.
Montero has come into the on-deck circle. One of the 3 catchers on the roster for Joe Maddon. Coughlin with great numbers against Blanton, but this is as much about getting Chapman out of the game. Chapman is lifted for the pinch hitter right here. Miguel Montero, who hit .216 during the regular season. This could also be to burn a hitter. And now Joe Maddon is forcing the hand the other way. He's got the left-hander, the young lefty, getting ready in Dayton. And Joe Maddon is sitting on a really good option on his bench in Wilson Contreras if he wants to go that way.
Yeah, and I think the numbers will show for Montero, even though it's the matchup you want, righty against lefty. He has not fared well this year against right-handers other than a fastball, the four-seamer. That's what he's looking to hit. Everything else well below average. Changeups, sliders, curveballs, all below 190.
Game on the line, bases loaded, 2 out. Strike 1, almost got a piece of Dexter Fowler in the on-deck circle. Rondon will pitch in the 9th with the bottom part of the lineup coming up for the Dodgers. Miguel Montero could be a hero tonight in Game 1. Strike 2.
That was one Montero would like to have back. That slider kind of spun in the zone right there, and he just pulls off the ball. Watch where this pitch is. That is not supposed to be there. That's supposed to be tight in. Gets on the side of the ball, see the spin. That circle's not tight enough on a slider spin.
Here comes the 0-2. High drive into right, back at the wall, and is gone! Grand slam, Montero! Game 1 hero! Charges one into right. Back into that well. This one is gone. Back to back. 8-3.
as good as Blanton has been with the slider down, it's the lefty sliders that haven't been very good. Montero, we talked about the one he missed earlier. This is going to be a carbon copy. Right over the middle of the plate, he sees 2 in a row. Back and all.
That was an 0-2 to Miguel Montero. And now Fowler.
And this one's more of the breaking ball variety, but this one hung too. Fowler knows it. As soon as he hits it, so does Blanton.
Here's Bryant, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Of all the moves that Dave Robert, this is the nature of the game we're in. They're going to ask him why not bring in the left-hander. But Montero was struggling, and I think he felt better against Montero than he would, as you mentioned, Contreras or Almora Jr. So he played the numbers game, and his pitcher just hung a 2-strike slider.
Yeah, you can talk about that all day long in any sport. Eventually the guy's got to make a pitch.
Right.
Or you say the guy did the job at the plate. That is the 3rd pinch hit grand slam in postseason history. And it's Miguel Montero. Followed up by Fowler, and it's 8-3, biggest lead of the night. Rondon will be the pitcher. The Dodgers worked so hard to tie it in the top of the 8th. Blanton almost got through the bottom half.
I mean, there was some concern and talk about whether he'd make this roster, but obviously they're pretty glad he did.
Well, they have 3 catchers. It's a luxury, but it's for this very reason. You have more options. Got a good kid with Wilson Contreras, but he stepped aside. Here's one to left center. This ball is off the ivy, and Bryant has a double. And that's it for Blanton. Party's on at Wrigley Field on the north side. postseason, post-game coverage. And there's our set right across the street from Murphy's bleachers here at Wrigley Field. This place, Wrigley Field, that was open for business in 1914, was bouncing. Literally, this press box, and the ball that Montero hit as Grant Dayton takes over in what's now a 5-run game, 8-3, a 5-run eighth, all the runs scoring with 2 out. Runner at second is Bryant. Rizzo 0 for 4 tonight. The 0-1. Strike 2.
Well, in the world of sliders, it can be awesome or it can be terrible. It's the recipe for a long ball. When you spin it and it doesn't break and stays there, you see the exit velocity on each one of them. Not too shabby.
And over inside Murphy's. Across from the set. Here's the 0-2 to Rizzo. Instead, time called, and it was granted. Blanton, who has been such a key member of Dave Roberts' bullpen. He's versatile. You know, the postseason is like the great truth serum. It's how good is your roster really, and who do you really trust? And for Dave Roberts, Joe Blanton is on that list of who he trusts. But tonight, Montero got him.
Well, he was in 4 of the 5 games in the previous series. The bullpen has worked, as we've documented, just about as many innings as you possibly can. You wonder if it catches up.
Rizzo fouls it. Turner, inning over. And this inning just reminds you, you never know when you show up to the park who the hero's going to be. Montero, a pinch hit grand slam. MLB fans dig into the game with unlimited LTE data on their smartphones. Show us how you're baseball's #1 fan. by using hashtag #UnlimitedBaseball for a free MLB Shop gift code and the chance to win tickets to every 2017 World Series game. Hector Rondon, the former closer with these Cubs, fires a 97-mile-an-hour fastball for strike one. Last year, Rondon 30 of 34 in save chances, an ERA just over 1.5, but he has given way to Aroldis Chapman, who right now stands to be the winner after finishing off the top of the 8th.
Well, and like I said, as much as you want to save the game for your starter and save the game with the lead, Chapman gave him a chance to get to this point.
Wilson Contreras takes over behind the plate. Aggressive charge by Bryant. 1 out. Kike Hernandez retired. The MLB postseason continues tomorrow. Game 2 of this NLCS, Dodgers and Cubs. That matchup of Hendricks and Kershaw. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern on FS1 Monday. The ALCS north of the border for Game 3 between the Indians and the Blue Jays on TBS. There's a matchup tomorrow. That's the good news for the Dodgers. Question you have to at least wonder about: how much can Kershaw give? How crisp will his stuff be after all that work in the division series? Missing 2+ months with a herniated disc in his back. It's being managed very well. Strike 2 from Rondon on Jack Peterson. It'll be an 8th inning to remember in this NLCS Game 1. 7 total runs, 7 hits, 2 home runs. The biggest pinch hit grand slam by Miguel Montero. A 45-minute 8th inning. Peterson to the right side. Rondon has to get over. Safe. And Rondon froze before he took off for the bag. And on safely is Peterson for the Dodgers here in the 9th.
Well, he froze because Rizzo expanded his zone coverage, if you will. He got Baez right there. And once Rizzo goes after that ball, no chance. Even if Rondon gets there on a straight line, a very difficult play. Left-hander backhand toss. Baez has that in his back pocket. Rizzo, if he could have it over again, would have gone back to the bag.
Now 1 on 1 out for a guy who for a moment, Andrew Toles, really made an impact off the bench. Delivered a pinch hit single the opposite way against Montgomery, showed his speed, scored a run in that 2-run 8th inning when the Dodgers tied it on a 2-out 2-run single by Adrian Gonzalez.
This guy can handle a fastball. He has really struggles against breaking balls down in that area.
Started the season at Class Single A. His dad, a former linebacker for the New Orleans Saints. And we'll see plenty of Andrew Toles before the end of this LCS. He's been a nice addition to this Dodger roster. Rondon. Strike 1.
I'm surprised that I'm seeing Peterson stay at first base. There's nobody holding him on. They walk to second.
Take it to take that force out away at second base and a ball up the middle. Especially with the speed of Toles at the plate. It's a 5-run game. That's a strike. Strike 2.
This is just paint. Now he can go breaking ball down if he wants. Toles usually swings over the top.
Into right center field. That ball's going to get down and go toward the wall and all the way to it. Taking around third is Peterson. Holding at second with his second hit in as many at-bats is young Andrew Toles with an RBI double.
I'm shaking my head because he can handle a fastball. Really, the report there wasn't followed. I know he's trying to get a fastball away, but this is a guy that has shown me enough watching video that he can handle this pitch right here. He misses location. He's just being stubborn right there with a fastball after painting away. He had him set up for off speed.
So Tolles 2 for 2. Out comes Chris Bosio, pitching coach for the Cubs. And he's going to try to help guide Rondon through the final 2 outs. Coming up is Utley with Justin Turner on deck. And with a wind blowing out, it wouldn't take much for the Dodgers to jump right back in this game as they trail by 4.
You know, this team shares and embodies what their manager is. He's the most upbeat, personable guy, has relationship or at least talks with every one of his players, and you can see them willingness to fight in the previous series. And I think I wouldn't expect anything different from this lineup.
They keep coming after you. They were held in check by Max Scherzer in that Game 5 start that Scherzer made in DC. Peterson the game-tying home run, and they went back to work. Now Utley takes a strike. A lefty and a righty getting ready for the Cubs out in their bullpen. Zastresny is the left-hander, Justin Grimm the right-hander. That's out of play, strike 2.
He nailed that on the first go. There's no chance I would have nailed that name on the first go. I'm proud, actually. Z-Man is what I refer to him as.
Oh, 0-2 on Utley. Rondon. '97 for ball 1. Travel day on Monday in this LCS. Dodgers will have their home crowd behind them on Tuesday for Game 3. Where will this series stand? 2-2.
All I can say is maybe the first couple breaking balls that he threw, he wasn't confident or wasn't feeling like they've been the right pitch. He stayed firm, and he has been firm the last 6 pitches.
Dodgers need 2 more base runners to have a chance. Utley trying to be one of those 2. Here comes the 2-2. That's caught right at Rizzo. This game is over. Cubs win it 8-4. Is doubled off, and why wouldn't a strong defensive play end this night in favor of the Cubs?
Well, I'll tell you what, the Dodgers squared up a lot of balls tonight. You got to be encouraged, even though it doesn't show in the scoreboard. And for the Cubs, their defense was right on point. And the crowd, you could tell they were ready to explode one way or the other. The Grand Slam did it.
Well, now the Dodgers get to turn to Clayton Kershaw tomorrow night, Sunday night. And up goes the W flag. As now the Cubs are 3 wins away from their first World Series since 1945. Let's go down to the field and check in with Tom Verducci.
Dexter Fowler, your team has a 2-run lead in the 8th inning. You lose it with your closer on the mound. Take me inside the Cubs dugout after that half inning.
You know what? Everybody was still juiced. We knew we were at home, and we know, if we can score 3, we'll be good. But we know we can do that at any time. So I don't think anybody was too down.
Miguel Montero hits the big grand slam. The fans were still on the feet by the time you took the next pitch out of the park. What were you looking for?
Just something to hit, something in the zone, and it was still loud, so kind of slowed everything down.
Dexter, the defense here has been kind of the secret sauce of the Cubs' success. You had 2 terrific plays today, one to your left, one to your right. Made 2 catches, lost 1 belt. You be the judge. How good were they?
I was working my belt off. I have to say that. Just was trying to go get the ball. That's my job out there. I'm the last, the last go out there. So just got to run it and try to get it.
Now you have to wear the same belt tomorrow for game 2.
For sure. They fixed it, so I'm good now.
Thanks, Dexter.
Thank you.
Now to Ken Rosenthal.
Thanks, Tom. Miguel, the grand slam off Blanton. You missed an 0-1 slider, went to 0-2. At that point, what were you thinking?
Honestly, as soon as I missed the 0-1 slider, I'm like, man, that was a good pitch to hit. After that, I just struck up a little bit, and I was trying to get something out over the plate and drive it. I got no other ways to do it. Sacrifice not going to do it. I just got to get a hit somewhere or the other. And he threw a good slider into my barrel. It was a good slider for me. It was not good. But it worked out pretty good, I guess.
Now, the way that inning developed, when did you sense it was coming to you? When did you sense the Dodgers were getting Chapman out of the game?
Honestly, I never even thought I was going to hit at that point. To be honest, I thought Madden took me out there just to bring the lefty and get Contreras to pinch hit for me, and they didn't bring the lefty for Contreras, and I guess that was a little mistake there, I guess, huh?
Maybe. Now, Miguel, it hasn't been the easiest year for you. I know you wanted to play more than you did. How rewarding is this moment?
It is. This is what I'm playing for right now. I try to take full advantage of whatever at-bat I get. And I talked early in the year with Joe. I say, I never got used to pinch hit, but I'm trying to get better because even though that I'm not playing, I'm working hard to get a better pinch hitter. And if you can give me an opportunity to pinch hit, not every day, but at least give me a chance because I think I can help the team from the bench in the playoff. And sure enough, today I helped the team.
Worked out okay.
Yeah.
Miguel, congratulations.
Thank you.
Joe, back to you.
All right, Kenny, thank you. Thanks to Tom. Joe Maddon pulled the right string. And as you heard Miguel Montero say, thinking along with us, maybe he was sent to the plate to get the left-hander in the game, to get Wilson Contreras to the plate. But that move wasn't made. And Joe Blanton, who's been so good, stays in the ballgame, gives up the pinch hit grand slam. The winner, Aroldis Chapman. The loser, Joe Blanton. Can't wait for tomorrow night. We don't say goodbye. We say hello to Kevin Burkhardt and the guys. Go.
Joe, thanks.